service text line, 913-586-7965. We're also streaming on video as well. You guys can check out the show, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. You'll be able to watch us as well.
Like and subscribe over on those channels if you'd like to see our unshaven faces. Doesn't look like either of us are shaven.
No, you got a little scruff today.
You got like a 2-3 day thing going?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what's today? Today's Wednesday. Yeah,
when will you shave next? What's the next?
Friday, because I got to do I got to do a video, like my betting show on Saturdays is on like video.
You're on video now.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Explain.
That is a show that is all video based.
But this show is on video.
And this is every day. That's also national. That one's also national.
Not the video. The video's not. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, our video is also national. You can watch it from anywhere.
You could. But it actually, the show itself, when we're telling people to go on Twitch, it's listened to on our Infinity Sports Network.
Versus, like, you're saying if this video was on the Odyssey account, that account doesn't have any followers. Our account, well, I don't know the Infinity one. I meant the Odyssey one. Yeah. I don't know.
It's not the They don't put it on the BetQL is what it is. Anyway, long story short, and yes, to answer Cody's question,
you're not caring as much about your price for this show, you know?
It's 5 days a week, you know? I can't, I got to shave every night, you know? I'm going to have a little scruff. We've joked about you. Yours is just chin related usually. Yours is more the chin.
Yeah. Doesn't come into the cheeks very fast. Eventually, you gave me 6 to 9 months, this beard to be looking, top. Beard look pretty
sure?
good. I think I thought
you tried before and it came in all patchy.
It was 1 month. It was just when we did the no shave November thing when it was like me, you, and Nick.
That's right.
And after a month, it started to somewhat resemble a beard. I said 6 to 9 months, as you just heard. I need way more time. And it would you'd have to be trimming the neck hair just to make it all even for a while.
Oh, it's a pain in the butt. I've told you, it's annoying. That's also another reason why I let it go a couple days before I shave. Anyway, 913-586-7965, Jay Southland Tow Service text line. I hope you enjoyed that quick conversation. Someone says, I know every show has its intro music, but they think it's time for us to change on Cody Gold. I think it's one of those where it's what you expect to hear when the show starts. Plenty of shows have the same music.
What do you want instead?
Yeah.
Like new walk-up music? Mm-hmm. That's actually a bet we should make with Vinny. We should make a bet on a playoff game this year, and if he wins, then he can choose our intro music for like a week, and if we win, we get to choose what he walks to the plate to for a week.
That we'll see if he wants to do that. I think what happened with our intro music is we changed, and people loved it, and then there was a couple commercials that came out, like national TV commercials, that started using the song again, because it's obviously an older song, but it came back. And then people maybe got sick of it in that regard. I don't know. It's what people expect when they hear the show. Just like you pick any national show or local show, like you get used to hearing the. That's what you expect.
I'm open. It wasn't the only one we've done for the 5 years, but you're gonna have to come correct with a suggestion.
All right, so we'll figure that out. Let's get into the Chiefs and Texans a little bit. Our divisional round coverage brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. We know throughout this season it's been one-score game after one-score game, really going back to last season as well. We know when they played the Texans in Week 16, it was a one-score game, barely, but it was a one-score game, 27-19. And based off of all these close games, are we just expecting every playoff game to be a close game as well? I don't have to give you the numbers on the NFL other than Wild Card Weekend. One-score games, basically 70-plus, 80% of the games or whatever.
And no team has had this low of a scoring margin. Yeah. And look, it's not... The NFL itself was it, but the Chiefs were at a heightened degree of that, especially for a team that won as many games they did. It was always the same thing. No team has ever won 15 games and had this small of a point differential. No team has had this many one-score games in which they've won in a row. And by the way, even that loss to Denver didn't impact that because they got their ass kicked by Denver, so it didn't matter. So like all this other stuff goes in here, and you're just kind of running in the middle. I do kind of anticipate that run to continue. For all the things I know that the Chiefs can just turn on come postseason time, I don't think it's a fluke that they won games, but I also don't think it's a fluke that they played so many close games. I think their margin of error is less this year than it has been in previous years. They've just done a way better job navigating it to a win total. So do I think because they played a lot of close games in the regular season, they are likely to play a lot of close games in the postseason? Yeah, I do. I expect this game to be close. I expect it to be a one-score game. I expect the game after that to be a one-score game and the game after that to be a one-score game because that's typically what Kansas City has played in this year.
I would just say that's typically what the NFL is. Yeah. I know we had our conversation early in the week about how non-competitive the wild card weekend was other than the Commanders game or whatever, but 80% of NFL games are one-score games. So, yeah, I mean, the safe bet is to look at the Texans game and hopefully an AFC title game and a Super Bowl, and you take a look at how competitive those typically have been. I would say, knowing the opponent and the fact that it's not AFC title game weekend yet, if you were to tell me that this game is going to be more comfortable or a little bit past one score, it's a 10-point win or something like that, that would not surprise me. The Texans lost by 8 points the last go-around. The Chiefs might have Jalen Watson this go-around. They didn't have him the last time. I mean, the Texans also got a few guys
and
back.
Hollywood Brown.
Was
he back? He was back by that, but his first game.
It was his first game, so we'll see. We're going to talk about Travis Kelce and being healthy and everything like that for this postseason run. All of that, it would not surprise me. We'll give our official game predictions on Friday. Like I looked at the line, it's up to 8.5. You might want to tease it down a little bit if that concerns you, but I think that's about right. Like if you were to tell me the Chiefs win once again by 8 to 10
last time, so.
8 to 10 points or something, like that seems kind of like it would make a lot of sense for the Chiefs in the Texans game on Saturday afternoon.
I think some of this is just we should accept this is the way that Andy goes about winning games. And because of how many games he's won, it's a difficult thing to nitpick based on the way he does it. Andy shuts it down. He always has, and he still will. So, like, if they get up, let's just say 14-0, and you're like, here it comes. Here comes the blowout. No, it'll be 17-10 in the third quarter because Andy took in and pulled everything in. It was a 4th and 1 from the 40, and because he was up 7, he punted. He took the 5-yard from the other team's 40. He'll take the 5-yard penalty and let him kick it. Let Ariza kick it into the back of the end zone. They'll net 20 yards, and then the Texans will go down. You'll be like, why is this game close? Why is it 24-16 now all of a sudden in the fourth quarter? And that's because Andy knows that the clock is his friend. And there was a time when Andy did not know that. I would say that Colts playoff game way back when. He didn't use the clock to his advantage. But, he'll try to play this thing close, and sometimes that means the Texans come back. And I also don't think that they're a flawless defensive team. I don't think this defense is as good as last year's defense. I don't think they're as shut down as last year's defense. I think they can be had in areas they were not exposed to last year. So I also think some teams can score against them a little easier than in previous years. And I know that the points per game is still very good. Would they ever finish second, third in the NFL at the end of the year? But if I made them go side by side, I think it's less likely this year that the Chiefs just hold a team to 10 while they put up 28.
I think that's probably fair, but I still don't think this is a bad matchup at all on Sunday. As I told you with the remaining playoff field, I know some people maybe will differ and claim it's the Commanders, and there's an argument there. Otherwise, I think the Chiefs are playing the worst team that's left in the entire playoff field, not just on the AFC side, but also on the NFC side. They're the number 1 seed, so it kind of makes sense that that's how it should be. I know we all would have preferred the Steelers because that offense is just flat out abysmal. C.J. Stroud at least is capable of making some special plays. I don't really think Russell Wilson is. They also don't have a wide receiver like George Pickens who just takes plays off and is unhappy and showing up late reportedly to football games and stuff like that. They don't have that. They have Nico Collins, who is a stud at the wide receiver spot, but this is still a Texans team that I don't think you should be all that fearful of, frankly. And yesterday we had our conversation about where would it rank upset-wise and everything. That's a big reason why I think it would be one of the biggest upsets, as you did as well, in the last 5 to 10 years in the NFL, if that's the case. So I think for Andy Reid, though, we have seen on fourth downs, you said, he maybe if they're up by a significant margin in the fourth quarter.
Up, yeah.
But in general, he's more likely to go for fourth downs in the playoffs.
He is. I mean, historically.
We looked it up last year, I think, during the playoff run. The numbers bear it out. He is more willing on those 4th and 1s, 4th and 2s. Doesn't mean he's doing QB sneaks, but he'll do whatever he needs to do. He'll be more aggressive. On the opening drive against the Texans, if the Chiefs, are in that position where it's a 4th and 1, they're moving the ball, but it stalls out at the 38-yard line, especially even the 35-yarder with the unknown about Butker's leg, I think he's absolutely going for it here in the postseason. Maybe he wouldn't in the regular season.
See, I know we did the brief conversation to be like, who does the rest help the most? And people were bringing up Kareem Hunt because that's what Mitch Holtis had said on the drive. And you and I were talking about Travis Kelce, who obviously benefited from the rest last year. I do not understand anybody who thinks Harrison Butker benefits from the rest. Otherwise, they would have rested him rather than rushed him back.
Yeah, he just needs to kick.
Yeah, if just sitting on his ass was going to make Harrison Butker be a more reliable kicker towards the end of the season, they'd have let him do that on the front end, not on the back end. Like, the rest didn't actually help him. You're right. He needs to be in a live game action kicking situation. And until he starts just nailing everything in the postseason from a kicking standpoint, I'm going to be a little nervous about that. But that's a fair point from the text line, and I see it over on Twitch and YouTube, that he has historically been far more aggressive in the postseason, but not with a lead typically. Andy with a lead, he loves to take the ball home. He loves to just get in there, get a lead, ride out the clock, and win this thing. Even that Baltimore game, and I don't know if they'll face Baltimore again, week 1 of the regular season. I thought he did some of that there, where they had control of that Baltimore game, and Baltimore kept creeping back in, to the point that it was hey, if we just get one stop, Baltimore can't win. And Baltimore eventually had a toe out of bounds on the Isaiah Likely touchdown, and they did win the game. That's not lucky. If Baltimore had given themselves more time, or if Andy had given them more time, they'd have maybe had another shot at winning the game. But because the Ravens never possessed the ball with a chance to really take the lead until the final drive of the game, Andy will take those risks in a lot of ways, which is fine. I just expect close games in the regular season. Usually, I don't think they're getting further apart in the postseason.
No, one other thing, does this count as an Andy Reid post bye week too? Because I think so. That's what's happening, right? They
the percentage of teams who are favored by a touchdown to win in the divisional round, right? I mean, it's 80-85%.
Andy Reid post bye week is now, I think, if you include this year, 22-4. I think it was 21-4. The article, so 22-4 post bye week. We know Mahomes has never lost a divisional round. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this is a very comfortable spot for the Chiefs. I don't have to tell you they're at home. It also looks like it's going to be wind chill-wise very, very cold on Saturday afternoon. A Texans team that plays indoors. I mean, we all know that, and there's a chance of some snow. I don't think the snow is going to be a factor, but temperature-wise, it looks like it's going to be not Miami cold from last year in the wild card round, but it's going to be really cold, and I want to see how C.J. Stroud handles that. I understand where he played in college, and it's not like it was 90 degrees every time there, but in the NFL, he's playing in a lot of domes, playing in a lot of indoor environments. Think about that division. He's got home games in Houston. He's playing indoors in Colts in Indianapolis. He's playing down south in Jacksonville. Nashville can get chilly or cold later in the year.
Chilly, they
just had snow this past weekend, in fairness. But you get the point. Overall, I don't know who his non-divisional opponents were this year, but I would guess 70% of his games were indoors or in warm weather climates.
I did actually look it up because last week someone was being a know-it-all. It was technically Kansas City and Nashville are on the same part of the equator. I was okay, relax a little. And I looked it up, and I wasn't wrong. Nashville is historically a warmer climate than Kansas City. Not way warmer. I'm not here trying to claim that it's the tropics and Kansas City's the Arctic tundra, but there is a difference in their temperature typically. But yes, I'm with you. But a lot of this is close games happen in the playoffs, but this is about as comfortable as a playoff game gets. You're at home. You're an 8.5-point favorite. They're a warm weather city who plays in a dome. You already beat them. Andy off a bye. Patrick in the divisional round. Almost every single statistical edge is in your favor. So, it is kind of hard to shake. Meanwhile, last night, for maybe the second time all year, I was locked into a little college basketball because I was curious whether or not to take MU seriously this season. Now, I was also paying attention to the Kansas State game, a game I thought they had control of, seemed like they had control of, and then let Texas Tech back into and eventually winning the game. So we can get to Jerome Tang in a minute and what happened to K-State. MU's a tournament team. They just beat a very, very, very tough Florida team on the road. And honestly, what stands out to me is, okay, Dennis Gates, 3 years, you made the tournament the first year, then you were so bad last year. I'm oh boy, whew. They might be regretting they might have gotten a little too quick on the Dennis Gates going to fix the program part. And now all of a sudden, they're a 15-win team already? I guess we got to take MU serious, Gold. They're a tournament team. They might have something with Dennis Gates. His recruiting system worked this year versus last year.
Yeah, I think that's what I take away from this. 100% they're going to be a tournament team, no doubt. When you have wins against the Kansas team and a Florida team already, you're in an SEC, and the opportunities you're going to have throughout the rest of the conference season, let alone an SEC tournament, yeah, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to rack up even more quality wins the rest of the way. The question for them will just be, when we fast forward to March, where are they at on the seed line and stuff like that. But Dennis Gates is going to have this Missouri Tigers team back in the tournament. But how he built it. Look at, as you said, winless in conference play a year ago in the SEC. They did not just go attack the portal. No, it's a very young Missouri team. Like, it's a really young Missouri team, great recruiting class they brought in. They also actually know how to rebound the basketball this year, which was a major problem for them.
Stood out last night.
A year ago, and it was huge last night against Florida. And then you look on the other hand, as you brought up Jerome Tang, like they went heavy in the transfer portal like they did in year one. It led to an Elite Eight in year one. This year, it's been disastrous for Kansas State. KU has struggled with the transfer portal a little bit this year, even though they're still top 10 in the country, but by their standard. And so that's what's interesting to me in how Dennis Gates has built this team. Last night, that was as impressive as a win as you'll have. I understand like Kansas because of the rivalry and all that, but that was at home. This was on the road at Florida against the Gators team that this year was one loss, right? Heading into that game, one loss, now a two-loss
just
team.
Kicked the teeth in of Tennessee, another good basketball team.
So I thought that was really, impressive for Missouri, and there's no doubt they're going to be in the tournament. They'll be, unless they lay an egg against Arkansas on Saturday, they're absolutely going to be ranked on Monday when the new rankings come out. They play. I think it's in Columbia though, but they play Arkansas on Saturday.
We were talking during our pre-show meeting, Cody, and you mentioned that you think it might just be kind of the state of college basketball, how things flow year.
I think there might be a bigger
year.
ebb and flow now because like there's just some years that you're going to go all into the portal and miss. You're going to be Kansas, right? And you're going to be like AJ Storer, and you're going to be like, this ain't working.
Yeah, but there's a difference between missing and still being top 20 in the country, and missing going 0-18 in conference play.
Sure, but that's also just the difference of quality of programs too, right? Kansas, even if they totally whiff in the transfer portal, will still be a 3 seed, right? They're not going to be garbage. Now that look, Missouri was bad last year, like you said, not a single SEC win.
I think too, though, if you rely on the portal too much in college basketball, we're seeing, I don't know what Mizzou's roster looked like last year, but we're seeing it with Kansas State this year. They've been portal reliant. Some years you hit, some years you don't. If you don't hit, you're having a year like Kansas State's having. If you hit, you're going to the Elite Eight potentially. So you have to find that balance. And I think in college basketball, we're seeing some teams like in Missouri and K-State's point, a really bad year to a really good season because of Dennis Gates going out and getting the recruiting class that he did. To Gold's point, it's all true freshmen. He's pulling out of the John Calipari playbook, essentially, in this regard, and getting elite true freshmen, and he's finding a way to coach him up in the toughest conference in college basketball, where Jerome Tang went to the portal like he has traditionally, hadn't worked out for him. As a result, they're not as good because the Big 12 is too good of a conference where you can miss in the portal in particular and still find a way to compete with the best in the conference.
I agree about the ebbs and flows. I would say that even in the old era of college basketball, it was much harder to have 3 or 4 straight years of sustained success at an MU or a K-State compared to a Blue Blood or something like that. I totally agree.
Sure, but not like just like total miserably.
That's what I mean. Is like, nobody's saying that. Like, it's obviously much tougher at a place like Kansas State to consistely go to Elite Eights or something, right? That's a big ask.
They should make the tournament about 50-60% of the time.
If you're Missouri, the ebb and flow, 0-18 conference play, like that just can't happen. You know what I mean?
You have to avoid that.
And so that's what is, on one hand, really impressive for them to turn it around this quickly.
Puts in a weird spot. It's like, how do you, like, if you're a Missouri fan, I am kind of curious. How do you feel about Dennis Gates? You feeling really good this year? Made the tournament in year one, but I'm sure of it. Missouri fans were ready to drag him out by the collar at the end of last season, right? I'm confident they were ready to drag him out by, like kicking and screaming out of there. And now, like, to your point, I think the flip side is what's happening at K-State. People loved Jerome Tang. They were ready to, lay on hot coals for Jerome Tang. They were ready for the guy.
They wanted him to stay.
And right now, if you ask K-State fans, I do not think that that's the energy towards Jerome Tang, where things have gone south here in a bit. And I think that they're starting to feel that, like, pressure a lot. So, like, you got to be real careful sometimes on coaching in my opinion, the first contract they get, where, like, don't get too married to the guy too fast. And just because they flirt with Arkansas and they're like, well, I could leave. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine, do it. Sometimes you got to call their bluff.
Don't get too high, but also I think don't get too low because we see what happened with Dennis Gates, where they had a miserably bad season last year, and they flipped it around completely within the span of 8 months.
Yeah, Jerome Tang, his agent deserves all the credit in the world for pulling that one off this past offseason. I understand the Walton family ponied up the money for Cal at Arkansas, but I don't think Jerome Tang was ever getting hired at Arkansas. And his agent was able to make K-State fans and the university very nervous about losing him, and he got a massive bump in pay. And as you said, there's now, a $18-20 million buyout or whatever,
big number,
for Tang in 1 year. I mean, it's weird. I mean, go back to Bruce Weber days at Kansas State as well. Remember, they didn't like the hire at the beginning, and then he won the Big 12, I think, in his first year, if I'm not mistaken. And everybody's like, oh, wait, maybe we got something here. And then we all know they soured eventually at the end on Bruce Weber. 2 years ago, Marquise Noel, and Jerome Tang could do no wrong. They're going to Elite Eight, playing at Madison Square Garden, and then how quick, they've shifted quickly on Jerome Tang in Manhattan.
But it's just tough. Like, if you shouldn't have fired Dennis Gates last year, then shouldn't you just chill on Tang for a minute? Like, it's going to be a bad year. I don't have anything to say besides
they're
that.
7-9 or something like that?
It's not going to be a good year. It's not going to be a good year in Manhattan for basketball. That seems fairly obvious.
The tricky part for them and the difference is Jerome Tang went and basically said, hey, give me the resources, give me the, essentially the NIL money to go attack the transfer portal, go spend a couple $1 million on the kid from Illinois. And they did. They supported the program. And then this is the result. At a place like Kansas State, I think it's a much tougher ask to then go back next year and expect that same amount of money to be provided to you through transfer portal. So, I think he will have to go back into the other path a little bit more.
That's where I wonder in college, because in college football, I know obviously Dion is so portal heavy. We wondered, can it work out? I wonder in college basketball, if you are single-handedly going after, if you bring in 4 or 5 guys from the portal, is that actually a recipe for success more than going after true freshmen like Dennis Gates did, or trying to find a way to get that true balance of, I don't need to go and rely on a hit or miss potentially guy. Like Kansas is kind of learning that in a way the hard way. Like AJ Storr looked great at Wisconsin last year. Yeah, we're going to pony up the money. We're going to bring him over here. His girlfriend's over here too. Perfect situation. He hasn't played that well. And we're seeing a Kansas team that on paper was the best in the country, maybe by a mile to start the season.
Oh, yeah, they were the favorite.
They are not playing that way. And in part, it's due to the transfer portal stuff that hasn't really hit for them yet.
Also because Hunter Dickinson moves like a bookshelf. What? Is that, I'm sorry, is that inaccurate?
No, it's just the way that you described it was funny.
I just imagine if like a bookshelf had like arms and legs. And then it was trying to move in the paint. That's exactly roughly what Hunter Dickinson's play looks like.
There's a reason why he did not leave for the NBA. It's a reason why he's in college basketball. The NIL is the greatest thing ever for Hunter Dickinson. He's the perfect player for NIL. Go get you're worth a ton of money in college. Ton of money. Get your money, man. And he has. He'll probably play it overseas or something if we're being honest.
Yeah, most likely.
He made more money.
And he'll make more money there than he would just being a fringe player in the NBA or G League or whatever.
You got any confidence in your boys tonight? Kansas got Iowa State tonight. Number 2 in the country.
Iowa State, is it the second longest or longest winning streak in the country right now? I think something like that. Really good. Kansas, 6.5-point underdogs tonight at Hilton Coliseum. No, I don't have confidence they're going to win this game. No, they don't have the offense right now. Their defense is why they've won the last couple weeks, or last week, or couple games, I should say. Offensively, I don't know how they can put together an effort to score enough to where I would pick them to win. Can they cover? Yeah, I wouldn't count them out to that. I don't think they're winning tonight. No, if that's what you're asking.
I'm just asking.
I'd be gladly
really impressed. It'd be a very impressive win.
If it happens, we can certainly discuss that tomorrow. There was one thing yesterday, and I listened back to the clip. It's kind of short, so we don't actually need to hear the audio, that I didn't even think about as a massive side benefit to why the DeAndre Hopkins trade was not just a home run, but out of the park, right? So we already know they needed a wide receiver at the time. He stepped in. He immediately made them a qualified wide receiver unit at a time that they were waiting for bodies to come back and just needed to stabilize in some way offensively. So for a 5th-round pick, you already crushed it. It was worth every single penny. But then Xavier Worthy was at the podium yesterday, and he got asked a very simple question, which is, who is the wide receiver who helped you the most? And his answer to that question was DeAndre Hopkins. And I immediately realized how important of a player DeAndre Hopkins is going to be felt for years in this organization. D-Hop, he wasn't even on the roster. And then think about when he came on the roster, After he gets comfortable, then he immediately starts working with Worthy. That timeline lines up with when Worthy started immediately playing better. He's like, he knows more about routes than I'll ever forget kind of stuff, right? And so if that's the case, I just didn't realize. I'm thankful for Hopkins anyway, especially so if he's the person who helped Xavier Worthy get to the level he's at. Just like a massive side benefit.
Anytime you have somebody with that kind of career to teach you and go through, I don't care whether we're talking about the NFL and a wide receiver, whether we're talking about basketball, which we just were a couple minutes ago. Yeah, if you have someone that's willing to take on that role and to go ahead and help a younger player thrive and learn and get the tricks, as he said, that a few things he's learned that he's not going to share publicly. Yeah, that's a great spot to be in. Not every player is willing to do that. We've talked about this in quarterbacks. Some quarterbacks are very, very open to helping the rookie behind them. But then there's also guys like Brett Favre wasn't really welcoming to Aaron Rodgers. Kirk Cousins has basically said, I'm not. My job is not to help Michael Penix when he was drafted. He's helped him the last couple weeks at the end of the season. But when he knew he was the starter, he's like,
everybody handles it different.
Yeah, and I don't fault. It doesn't mean these people are bad people for not helping someone that eventually is going to take their job. This is different. D-Hop has been traded midseason. Xavier Worthy was drafted by this organization. It's pretty evident who's the future at the position. Maybe D-Hop's here next year. That'd be great. But yeah, I think it's nice to see that a player like DeAndre Hopkins is providing that, and maybe it helps progression. I would also say Hollywood Brown probably is part of this equation too.
If it was the same money, 1 for 7.5, would you rather have Hollywood or DeAndre Hopkins?
Hollywood Brown.
1 for 10, let's say.
Yeah, I don't think they will
Hopkins
be.
will actually get less than Hollywood, so it's not really a good apples to apples comparison.
I think it depends on what they do in the postseason. I mean, if you're Hollywood Brown, would you? If I told you, hey, let's just do the incentive deal, let's run it back.
1 for 10.
1 for 10 again, and then if you're still young enough, you have you have a massive year, because I think we've seen what he potentially could have done numbers wise this year. You do that. What's to say that next year or the year after there's not a multi-year deal on the horizon for you? All right, we'll talk more about this and the divisional round weekend with Ross Tucker, our Odyssey NFL insider, next on Cody and Gold.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Hey guys, it's Cody and Alex to let you know that if you're looking for that new career, Centric is the place you want to go. Look, you've been sitting around in a job you don't like anymore, and you want to try something new. I get it. Who wouldn't want a job with better pay, better career advancement, and better opportunities?
So if you've been thinking of a new career, the new year is a great time to start. Classes start in the middle of January at Centric. Contact our friend Russ. Centric.com. That's CENTRIQ.com.
At Jefferson's, our favorite day is game day, especially on Kansas City game day. We know our guys in red like to play down to the wire, and we're here for every second of it. Our ice-cold beers pair perfectly with a blocked field goal. Our double-dip wings taste even crispier when KC makes yet another game-changing play. It just tastes better when you're watching at a bar that's owned and operated locally. Join us on game day and every day at Jefferson's, 87th Street and Lackman in Lenexa, and North Kansas City on Armour Road. Jefferson's, wings, burgers, oysters.
GiveMeTheVin.com salutes Nerves of Steel. On this day in 2009, after flying into a flock of geese upon takeoff, U.S. Airways Captain Sully Sullenberger successfully landed Flight 1549 in the Hudson River. There were no fatalities. Don't test your nerves with a lowball dealer trade-in allowance or private sale tire kicker. Go with the pros at GiveMeTheVin.com, America's best car buyer.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
It's just not normal. The pain calls from chronic joint pain day after day. But some of you have dealt with that pain for so long, it's become your new normal. Short-term fixes are not working. Make the decision now to say no, not going to live with it. Get moving again in 2025 with help from QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, joint preservation. Yes, you can revitalize your joints with advanced orthobiologic treatments at QC Kinetics. No steroids, no drugs, no surgery. This is the future of medicine using an array of natural solutions like PRP to attack the pain from arthritis. Tens of thousands of people with pain have discovered these cellular treatments and they're living life again without that constant pain in their joints. Want to learn more about how you can refresh your joints, get lasting relief with these amazing treatments? Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299.
Your skin tells a story. At KMC Dermatology and Med Spa, we understand that stress, time, and life can leave their mark, but it's never too late to refresh, renew, and restore your skin. With 25 expert providers across multiple locations, we make glowing skin easy. Same week appointments? Absolutely. Select Saturday appointments available? You got it. From medical dermatology to advanced aesthetic treatments, we're here to help you look and feel your best. Schedule your appointment today at kmcpa.com. KMC Dermatology and Med Spa. Beyond the surface.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it. Did you know that 1 in 4 people seeking treatment for ED are under 40? So you're not alone. And even better, Hims can help. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at hims.com/joy. It all starts with an online intake form. From there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. Through hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-353-9057. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-353-9057. 800-353-9057 or biglou.com.
The Pro Football Playoff season is here, and there's one place to be. The BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Your home for wagertainment, giving you the sharpest insights and bringing on expert guest analysis.
From point spreads to props, live betting to futures, BetQL has you covered every step of the way with wall-to-wall coverage on the road to the championship in New Orleans.
Listen live on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM on the free Odyssey app and twitch.tv/BetQL or YouTube at Odyssey Sports.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We're going to be joined by Ross Tucker, our Odyssey NFL insider, in just a minute. There was some news happening that relates to the NFL and college football. We mentioned that at Texas, whether the Longhorns would go on to win the national title or not, and of course they did not, Quinn Ewers was going to be done at Texas because Arch Manning is behind him. The only question remaining for Texas was going to be whether or not Quinn Ewers decided to declare for the draft or think he can make some money in the portal. But he was not going to be the Texas quarterback next year. We just got word from Pete Thamel 7 minutes ago that Quinn Ewers is, in fact, declaring for the NFL draft, according to his agent. So he will be available here in a couple months for one of these teams. I haven't looked at any mock drafts. It's way too early for us in Kansas City to look at mock drafts, frankly. But I don't know. Like, is he a late first round guy? Is he a early second round guy?
I think they were saying mid round is the most third, maybe, right?
That's what I'm surprised he's not going transfer portal. Go get yourself a couple $1 million for sure in the portal one more year, and then go try.
He's going to get the guy drafted in the third round behind whichever team takes Sam Darnold. So the Pittsburgh Steelers sign Sam Darnold, and then Quinn Ewers will get drafted in the third or fourth round. I can predict it now.
All right, let's talk some NFL, though, with our Odyssey NFL insider, Ross Tucker, and be sure to check out his Ross Tucker Football Podcast, daily NFL podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Ross, good to have you on the show. I guess since we were talking quarterbacks real quick, I don't know if you're into the mock draft stuff or anything like that either. Are you surprised someone like Quinn Ewers wouldn't just go portal and try to make some money that way and then try the NFL a year later?
1,000%. Yes. I mean, to me, if you're not a first-round pick as a quarterback, projected first-round pick, or you think you're had a great chance to go in the first round, you should absolutely go in the transfer portal. You know, those guys are now getting, you know, I know there's a lot of numbers out there, but realistically, those guys are getting between 1.5 to like 3.5 million a year. I think some of the numbers aren't real accurate. And, you know, Quinn Ewers would be about as sought after as anybody. Now, the only thing I don't know is how many programs still need a guy. You know what I mean? Like, I know like Penn State's backup, he hit the portal. He's from right around here, and he would play like 5 to 10 snaps for Penn State. They would bring him in for special situations. He hit the portal right when the playoff run happened because he wanted to get his spot somewhere else before it was too late. And he signed with Missouri, and he's evidently getting $1.5 million from Missouri. So he's down there with you guys, and I presume he'll be their starting quarterback. His name is Bo Prabula. He reminds me a lot. I don't know if you guys remember this guy from college. He kind of bounced around the NFL, Trace McSorley.
Yeah, I remember Trace.
You know,
I mean, another Penn State guy.
Undersized guy, but a winner and fast, and that's kind of what Prabula is like. If there's any Mizzou fans listening, I think he'll do well there. But the only thing I would say about Ewers is maybe he, you know, it took him a few days to do this. So maybe they looked and saw what was out there, and maybe nobody had a need where they would give him like what Carson Beck is getting, $3 million or whatever, to go to Miami. Maybe Ewers couldn't find that, but unless you're a first-round pick, I would highly recommend at the quarterback position in particular hitting the transfer portal. First of all, you know, the reason to go to the NFL from college used to be because you couldn't get paid in college. If you can stay in college and get paid, like, I'll go back right now.
Do you still have some eligibility?
You're in college and you're getting over $1 million. Can you imagine how fun college would be if you were getting $1.5 million to play football? Like, I'd wake up in a ditch somewhere. Like, that would be unbelievable.
Just passed out in some drained pool.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you guys want to come over into my hot tub? I mean, you know, I bought an off-campus mansion. You want to come over to my house? No, it's not my parents. It's mine. I bought it. It's my own money. I mean, it's like incredible. So, yes, I think Ewers is probably – here's the problem. You guys know this. You're either a first-round pick or you're like third or fourth, because you're not going to take him in the second round unless you think they're a starter. And if you think they're a starter, someone's going to take him in the first round. You're not going to take a guy in the second round to be a backup. You're just like, those guys end up falling, you know, every year. Whoever, like, name the guy, Spencer Rattler, whoever, like, any guy that fits that category, you look, next thing you notice, they're not getting drafted till like the fourth or fifth round.
Let's take a look at some of the games this weekend. We can get to the Chiefs and Texans here in a minute, but obviously the single biggest game of the weekend is Ravens-Bills. and a possible future opponent between the two. It seems like the national narrative, Ross, is the Ravens are a bad matchup for the Bills are a bad matchup for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs' best matchup of those two is probably the Ravens. Is that kind of how you see it? Because obviously I think those two teams are pretty even between the Ravens and Bills.
I think the Ravens are better. I think the Bills have the advantage of playing at home. I mean, you look at it, and it's like the Ravens have 6 All-Pros. The Bills have 1, Josh Allen. Like, that's crazy. And the Bills have some good players, but they don't have the talent level that the Ravens do. I also think the Ravens, with their ability to run it with Henry, they really have a formula that could beat anybody. It's funny. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I have a betting podcast that I do on Tuesdays. It's called the Even Money Betting Podcast. And on it, my co-host, who's, a big numbers guy, he's a professional bettor, he says that the Ravens are by far the best team. And the logic behind that, they average, guys, more than half a yard more per play than any other team in the NFL. That's super impressive. The thought process is that the Bills being like plus 24 or whatever they are in turnover margin, that's great, but there's a lot of variance there, and that doesn't, you could have a game like Packers-Eagles where the Eagles win the turnover battle 4-0, or, Herbert throws 4 picks when he's only thrown 3 all year, meaning that it's not really a predictive stat. I think the exact quote he gave was, the Ravens won 12 games and should have won 15. The Chiefs won 15 and should have won 12 because of how many of the one-score games the Chiefs won. And we've talked about that a lot, but that's just not realistic to win 100% of those. So I thought that was fascinating. And so I'm really interested to hear what the betting line would be if it's Baltimore in Kansas City next week, because a lot of those betting lines are based on yards per play and certain statistical measures like that are not considered, prone to variance, right? It's not like, well, it could go either way. No. They've run thousands of plays this year, and they average more than half a yard more than any other team. That's the best team, which I thought was fascinating.
I definitely think, Ross, there's a good chunk of Chiefs fans that would look and say, okay, in a way, I almost want Baltimore to look great against Buffalo, and then everybody says, oh my gosh, this Baltimore team is unstoppable, and then the Chiefs get to actually play an underdog role again in the AFC title game. I think people here would welcome that.
Well, and I have a tough time picturing the Chiefs losing, because I just think whoever wins that Bills game against the Ravens, that's going to take so much out of them, right? I mean, so first of all, the Chiefs are going to have an extra day to kind of rest and prepare. And then secondly, that is going to be a war. That's going to be like as good of a – this is maybe as anticipated of a divisional round matchup as you'll see with the top 2 vote getters for MVP. And what's interesting is I go on in Buffalo on Tuesdays. I'm actually going on in Baltimore later today. It's like a crushing, devastating season for whoever loses this game. But ironically, whoever wins the game, they're going to feel great about it for like 48 hours. And then it's, well, we still got to get over the Chiefs hump. And I think that's asking a lot. To win this game Sunday night and then go to Kansas City and win in Kansas City, that would be super impressive by whoever does it. And frankly, I think the Ravens would have the better chance. It's interesting to hear what you guys say, because the Bills always beat the Chiefs in the regular season for whatever reason, and it feels like the Chiefs have the Ravens number. Whereas I look at it and think, man, I could see a scenario where the Ravens were able to finally get the Chiefs with Derrick Henry and with that rushing attack.
When we look at the rest of, this is what it is like when we get to this Texans part, and for Goldeneye, for the Ravens, it's like they've stopped Derrick Henry in the postseason, for one, and we've always said, and I think, Ross, we talked about it with you after the Buffalo loss the week after. We both feel like the one big thing that I think is undervalued in this is Sean McDermott has learned that he has to do everything to win. Like, if it's 4th and 2 from your own 35, you might just have to go for it. Like, he's finally learned that you can't give Mahomes a second chance.
Yep. I think I'd like to think that Harbaugh knows that too, or should know that.
Yeah.
You have, and honestly, if you're the Ravens and it's 4th and short, especially, how are you not going for it?
Yeah.
With Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and that rushing attack. I do think on some level you're right, though. The Ravens are a really bad matchup for the Bills because the Bills, they want to play in nickel. They think they have the best nickel back in the league in Taron Johnson, number 7. They want, and I know he got banged up last week, but they want him to be out there as much as possible. Well, the Ravens aren't going to let you do that. The Ravens have, like, at least 2 big bodies, meaning 2 tight ends or a tight end and that fullback, Patrick Ricard, at least 2 of them out there on every play. And sometimes they'll go 3 or 4. And especially without Zay Flowers, I would think that they would just try to run the ball right down the Bills' throat, and they might be able to.
We're talking to our Odyssey NFL insider, Ross Tucker, here on 96.5 The Fan. All right, Chiefs-Texans, I know we're talking AFC title game and potential matchups. Should the Texans be getting a little more attention, I would say? We know they played the Chiefs back in Week 16. It was an 8-point win for Kansas City. Some elements of those teams are the same. There's a few changes. Some guys are healthier than they were back then. The Chiefs are as healthy as I think you can be as a playoff team, frankly. Is this Texans team, in your opinion, capable of hanging better than they did in Week 16?
I think so, yes, because I think they have a little bit more confidence now based on how that game went last week, right? You know, you win by 20 points, you win a playoff game, especially one where you were the underdog and people were counting you out. Now those guys have that belief. You know, it's no secret. C.J. Stroud will have to have one of the best games of his career, and the Texans will have to find a way to be able to run it a little bit. Their best chance for success is probably defense, right? I mean, you know, somehow get a pick six or a strip sack of Mahomes. The Texans are elite at edge rusher and at corner. Absolutely elite. And by the way, that's not great for the Chiefs with their offensive tackles. So the Texans need Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson to totally, thoroughly dominate that game off the edge, make Mahomes' life miserable, get a strip sack, maybe Stingley or Laster gets a pick six. Because I just don't see the Texans scoring that many points against the Chiefs' defense now that the Chiefs are returning to almost full health.
Are you surprised that Andy Reid is still kicking around DJ Humphries or Joe Thuney at left tackle?
Well, that is if you think that he really is still kicking that around.
Yeah. I think they still want DJ Humphries. I think they're still looking for a reason. You think they're just going to start Thuney?
I think it'll be Thuney at left tackle, Caliendo at left guard, because they clearly were performing better those last couple games offensively with those guys there. Now, the thing that's weird about that is it's not like a perfect, controlled scientific experiment because they also had got Hollywood Brown back. But if you look, it's funny because I just finished recording my fantasy show, the Fantasy Feast podcast. Those 2 games since Hollywood Brown came back, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, has the quickest time from snap to throw in the NFL. So it's funny because we all think of Mahomes as extending plays and Mahomes running around and making them reckless. Nobody is getting the ball out of their hands since Hollywood Brown came back from injury than Mahomes. So how much of that is because of Hollywood Brown? How much of it's just because they know Thuney's not really a left tackle that's going to be able to hold up in pass pro, 40 times a game for extended time. So it's very, very interesting to see sort of that situation. I would think that they would start with the way they've been going, and then if it's not going well, maybe then put in Humphries. But I'd be surprised if they just put Humphries out there. But it's been 23 days, so maybe.
All right, last one for you before I let you go. Coaching carousel, we know one vacancy has been filled. Another one opened up this week with Dallas. Real quick, what do you think ultimately happens with the Raiders job and the Cowboys job? Those are the two I think most interesting in terms of the wide reach maybe of who they could hire.
Yeah, I think the Raiders is going to be Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. I think Brady's going to get him. I think that's basically all there is to it. Brady's kind of doing a full court press, and I think as a result, he's going to be able to get Ben Johnson to be the guy in Las Vegas, which is just gigantic. Not good for you guys, because I really do feel like Ben Johnson is special. I think he's as good of a coordinator as we've seen in recent years, and I just think that I think Ben Johnson, like, the time is now, and I think it's either going to be Chicago or the Raiders, and I think they're going to get him with the Raiders because they're going to be able to pitch him on, hey, we'll also help you. You can have some say in who we bring in as the GM, which is not the case in Chicago, where Ryan Poles is the GM, and also I don't know, maybe he loves Caleb Williams, maybe he doesn't, whereas with the Raiders, he could have some input on the quarterback that they bring in.
Ross Tucker, our Odyssey NFL insider. Appreciate it as always, man. Enjoy the weekend.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
There you go, Ross Tucker. He's got his podcast, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Daily NFL Podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. Yeah, like I hear him on, I think Ben Johnson is going to be a really, really good offensive mind. But my only question of be careful about him would be, I still want to know who's his quarterback ultimately. He could be a great play caller, but who's the Raiders quarterback? So they might get Ben Johnson, which is I don't want to call it a home run hire necessarily,
it's a good get.
But it's a very good hire, and to beat out the Chicago Bears, if that's what happens, is a huge deal. But until they're picking sixth, right? Like until their quarterback situation's figured out, are they trading up for Sanders? Are they trading up for Cam Ward? Are they bringing in Sam Darnold? Like what is actually going to make the difference is going to be who's their quarterback.
If I were, I told you this, maybe we did this like an all 32, maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago. If I were a Raiders fan, let's just say this hire happens, I'd be worried about it. And the reasons are the same, which is I've told you the sport is too big and you need less jobs. And Ben Johnson wants to come in, choose a new offense, choose his quarterback, choose the general manager, be the head guy in charge ahead of the general manager in final decision making. It's too much.
We don't know the last part yet.
It's too much.
We don't know the last part. He wants a say in who they hire as GM. We don't know. He might want. We don't know for sure if he wants final say. We don't know.
I just think if you want to choose the GM, you want to lord it over him. And there was at least one report that he didn't want to walk into a situation where a GM was going to have ultimate say over final roster decisions. And look, every once in a while it works out. I think if it came down to it and there was a player on the 53-man roster that one guy desperately wanted and one guy didn't, it was between Veach and Reed, I think Reed would probably get the last say in the room. If it were just, we're dragging it out and we're choosing.
He's also won multiple rings and everything.
I think a lot of times when these coaches who do not have the experience and they're like, I'm going to fix this whole organization, but you got to give me total control in order to do it, find out that they've bitten off more than they can chew. And we'll see. Yeah. I don't know that it'll definitively be the case, but that would absolutely be my worry if I were the Raiders.
I think there's definitely some truth to that. It'll be ultimately, does he get final say and all that, or
does he
get
the right quarterback? You're right, because if he drafts the right quarterback, none of this matters.
Yeah, and it's one thing, hey, he gets say in who we bring in as a GM, but is he getting, does he have more control than that? I don't think it's going to be, it doesn't sound like the same as when basically Reed handpicked John Dorsey and then handpicked Brett Veach. I don't know if Ben Johnson's handpicking. There's two different ways to look at it. Is he handpicking the GM, or is it like, hey, we're looking at these guys, who do you like to be GM? Is it, okay, you like this guy, we'll go ahead and hire this guy, or is it, I don't know if it's Ben Johnson bringing the assistant GM from Detroit with him, and it's like his guy that way. I don't know.
Wasn't there also a report that he wanted to be one of the highest paid coaches as well, right off the bat?
Yeah, he's got leverage.
I wonder if
you can ask pay-wise, you can ask whatever you want. I can ask Odyssey right now for $1 million a year. They're probably not going to pay it to me.
Yeah, but again, if he wants $10 million, he's like one of the top coaches with no experience. So I wonder if the Raiders
I'm sure they're going to have to pony up.
I wonder if it's realistic because the Raiders would be the only team to say, hey, you want full control and you want $10 to $15 million a year? We'll give you that. And not regardless of the QB, but he might be, if it were down to the Raiders and I don't know,
well, it sounds like it's the Bears.
If it were so if it's the Raiders or the Bears, but the Bears really don't want to give you much at all, if anything, but the Raiders give you everything and the money, which matters to Ben more, having that control or having that quarterback and making a little bit less?
Yeah, what Cody said though a minute or two ago, and that's what it is. It's the ultimately they can have the best head coach ever. You don't have a quarterback, it's not going to matter. So that's what's more interesting to me. It would be if we back up months ago. Yeah, surprising if Ben Johnson chooses the Raiders over the other jobs because I think there's better jobs, but. If the Raiders get him, that's a really, really nice hire considering who some of the names.
People didn't think they'd take that job. That Ben Johnson would take that job.
But you got it. The quarterback is, of course, going to be the key there for it to actually become a threat. We went through the AFC West. The Broncos are on the right track, it looks like, with their quarterback. I know Herbert just had a terrible postseason, but as an organization, looks like they got the right head coach. That we don't need to act like Herbert's like an awful quarterback now. He has to prove himself in the postseason, but he's not terrible. The Raiders still don't have a coach, and they still don't have a quarterback
or a GM,
which
also matters.
So
it turns out.
I don't think the Raiders are just all of a sudden going to be a problem. Just like that.
And it's always like they do things like when I compile all of it. This is why I'm just like I'll be convinced that it won't work with Ben Johnson, even though I think he's a really good coordinator too. I'm not even disagreeing with that. It's like the too many cooks in the kitchen. Now I'm letting Brady decide who the best head coaching candidate is. Why? Because he worked with two dudes in 45 years. John Elway was really good at the league too. He wasn't so good at choosing coaches. And it's like too many things where you're like. I don't just want Tom Brady buying into my league and being like, I'll choose the coach. I got it, guys. You're like,
Can I, legit, we don't need to go down the Vrabel route again, but I have to ask you, is there going to be a coaching hire you do like this cycle? So far, you didn't like the Vrabel. It sounds like you won't like Ben Johnson, the Raiders.
Crazy.
Will there be one?
Have there been one? That's a good question.
There's only been one officially.
I don't have any other current objections. I told you, actually, funny enough, that I think I'd like it if Chicago went with an experienced coach. Yeah. Like if they hired Pete Carroll or McCarthy, I actually don't think that those. I actually think those are pretty reasonable hires that make sense.
Yeah, they make sense. I'll say Bears fans are terrified they're going to hire Mike McCarthy.
I know.
They're terrified.
I know.
We'll see if any news comes on that front.
They'll all be fired in 4 years.
Throughout
80% of them.
Typically how it goes.
If I hate all of them, I actually will be right more times than I'll be wrong.
Coming up next, let's talk about who we could expect to have a breakout performance starting on Saturday.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hey, it's Gold, and I've been telling you guys about my friends at Max Motors, and there's not a better time to go say hello to my friends down there than right now. We just got done with this winter storm, and if you have a 4x4 vehicle, you know how much easier it was to navigate the last couple of days, and if you don't, you're probably thinking, what would that be like? Well, at Max Motors, they have every new 2024 Ram 1500 in stock right now, 25% off MSRP. They got 4x4 options available in that 2024 Ram 1500. And here's where Max Motors is different. And they showed me this when I was out there as well. And that is explaining the total cost of ownership, not just what that monthly payment is going to be. So if you've been thinking about a brand new vehicle, there is no better place to go than Max Motors. And they're going to take care of you with the best financing options available and give you the max trade-in values in the Midwest. So take advantage of every new 2024 Ram 1500 in stock. That's 25% off MSRP. Must finance with dealer lender. Offer expires 2/3/25. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car, maxmotors.com.
Get ready to elevate your game this NFL playoff season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. Because right now, all customers can get a no-sweat NFL same-game parlay for any game. All you need to do is place a 3-leg NFL same-game parlay, and you'll get bonus bets back if your bet doesn't win. Same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at an even bigger payout. So you can build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game pre-built models right there on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. Get your no-sweat same-game parlay today on America's #1 sportsbook app. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/KFNZ. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after retreat. Max wagers $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Can help with your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
I'm McCall with Lee Summit Subaru, and it's time to make a big deal out of nothing. Zero, like in 0% financing. Zero is back. Up to 0% financing on select 2024 and 2025 Subaru models for 72 months. Yeah, we did that too. And we're Google's highest review rated and only locally owned Subaru retailer in Kansas City. 0% event and a lifetime warranty. Fall in love with driving again at Lee Summit Subaru.
Google highest review rated Subaru retailer in Kansas City based on 2023 Google Analytics.
Hogjaw Q and Brew. Just the name sounds kind of curious, doesn't it? If you haven't tried Hogjaw Q and Brew, well then, you've missed out on what's been voted Kansas City's best barbecue. Aged beef, slow smoked. Yep, even better than a guy named Joe. We're at 9th and Swift, right off Burlington Road. Come in, order online, DoorDash. Heck, we'll even cater. Hogjaw Q and Brew, hogjaw.com. Come see what all the fuss is about.
At Shane Company, we make finding your perfect engagement ring fun and easy. Because let's be honest, you might feel a little stressed out. We get it. That's why we do all the hard stuff. It's our job to bring you the biggest selection of beautiful diamonds and colorful gemstones, so many amazing settings, and all the customization your heart desires. We've got your style and your price range covered, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Come in for a warm welcome and leave with your dream ring and an experience you'll never forget. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Hi, it's Derek Johnson, and I know there's nothing better than being part of a team. A group of great people you can count on and learn from. The Sheet Metalworkers, local number 2, are growing their team and looking for quality men and women who want to build Kansas City's future. While you're making KC a better place, you'll also get great pay and benefits while gaining lifelong skills. Explore the possibilities at sheetmetal2.org. That's sheetmetal2.org. And take a step towards a fulfilling and rewarding way of life.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hey guys, it's Cody Tapp, and it's a new year, so time to keep that promise of getting your testosterone levels checked. If you're lacking energy, muscle mass, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, and nobody matches the experts at the Low T Center. People have different levels, so don't settle for the standard dosage. Get a personalized treatment plan at the Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Divisional round coverage of the Chiefs and Texans on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. Listen to the Chiefs and Texans divisional round playoff game on Saturday with pregame starting at noon. Kickoff at 3:30 with Mitch, Dannon, and Kling, right here on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
Reminder, on Friday, we're going to be up at Barry Road area, right? Berry Road? Yeah.
Berry Road Rally House?
Yeah, Berry Road Rally House. I was thinking of the shopping center. Berrywood's Crossing is the word I was looking for at the time. That's what I was hesitating for. We'll be at the Rally House location up there on Friday. Hope to see you guys there. We know it's playoff time in Kansas City, so you want to make sure you make your way out to Rally House. Gear up to go back to back to back in the Kingdom. Rally House is now rushing in some new gear, too, for the playoffs, including those official Chiefs postseason shirts and sweatshirts, latest styles to cheer on your team. Shop 16 KC Metro locations and online at rallyhouse.com. We'll have some gift cards, I know that, to give away as well. So hope to see you guys there in a couple days.
Plus, we don't always get out and about town, so it's good to get to see people. So we'd love to see you out at Rally House tomorrow. Plus, different Friday. Sorry, we haven't been in the Northland. It feels like for a remote in a little while. So maybe a different crowd. Who knows, right? Get a different part of town. I feel like we've been in Kansas the last couple of times for Rally House. We've been out in Independence for Rally House, so I think our first time up there on Berry Road. So looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. You and I might have a different opinion. And I know that this is going to sound like, oh, here comes Cody again. I just want to make it very clear now so that I'm on the record so that people don't think I turned into a hater. I forgot. Travis Kelce's getting ready to go full playoff mode Travis Kelce. And I just want everyone to be mentally prepared for when it looks like all of a sudden he turned back the clock and you're like, damn, where was this Travis all year? I'm like, it's the playoffs now.
That's what he did last year.
Here it comes. I know that you were like, wait, could it be? Of course it's going to be. His over-unders are like his regular season numbers. Right now, if you were to bet Travis Kelce, like I go to Underdog and I say I want to bet higher, it's like 54.5. Like, that's not what's going to happen with Travis Kelce. In the postseason, he shows up. He's good for 80 yards and a touchdown, pretty much from here on out. If you want to know what the numbers are, that's what he's here for.
So I also think he's going to have a big postseason. We've seen enough of a track record, and we yesterday heard Patrick Mahomes talking about rest and who benefited the most a year ago from not playing in that final game. And it was easily Travis Kelce, despite the 1,000-yard season on the line and everything like that. And here's Travis Kelce. We played the audio from his interview with Pat McAfee. He was joking. He feels like he's 22 and everything like that.
Was making a Taylor Swift reference.
Of course.
He's figured out all that encoded stuff like she is. That's very smart. Good marketing.
Yeah.
Also, they got LeBron on their podcast. Jesus.
Yeah.
That podcast is out of control. They didn't get anybody.
Yeah, they signed a $100 million deal with Amazon's podcast division or whatever it was. Anyway, I think absolutely I would expect Travis Kelce to step his game up. He's done that throughout his career in the postseason. He individually knows there's a switch to flip. It's not just the team. He knows there's a switch to flip, and he's backed it up. Those big-time moments, he's ready for those. So I think for sure I would not be stunned. And after last year, I don't know how any Chiefs fan could be stunned if that happened. I think there's another name, though, that we haven't seen do it yet.
Justin Watson.
Hasn't had a ton. Is that what you're going to say? It's not. It hasn't had a ton of postseason experience. I'm talking about DeAndre Hopkins. I think there's a real chance here in the postseason. D-Hop reminds us where he has been throughout much of his career. He hasn't had a lot of playoff games. That also is kind of why I like this, because I think if you're talking about motivation and everything like that, well, D-Hop's definitely in that category. After he's had multiple games where they've limited his snaps, and he's had 3 catches for 40 yards, 3 big catches though, but like 40 yards in this game. I would not be surprised if during this playoff run we see a couple games where he's 6 catches, 85 plus for a touchdown. You're saying kind of 80 for Kelce. It would not surprise me if it's something like that for DeAndre Hopkins. He still provides them. While maybe the separation is not there as much as it was years ago, he still is a contested catch guy. Other than Travis Kelce, is probably the best contested catch guy on the team, easily.
I am genuinely kind of excited to see the way that the targets go in the postseason. For the last month, Xavier Worthy's been the main target guy. He's been the highest target guy over the last month. Travis Kelce, historically in the playoffs, has been the highest target guy. And as much as I know that we watched kind of the older DeAndre Hopkins take a little time to get up to speed in Kansas City, a couple of quiet games, right? He still finished with 437 yards in limited action for Kansas City this year. He was playing 50% of the snap. He was a 1,000-yard wide receiver last year. He still finished with 700 yards this year. So for DeAndre Hopkins to be this guy, this is the only thing I'll say, Gold, is for DeAndre Hopkins to be that guy and to have the same thing we're talking about with Travis Kelce, and we both agree he'll be better in the postseason than he was in the regular season. To different degrees, it's fine. But Hopkins does have to get the targets. And at no point this year has he just been the target monster. Now, in the Texans game, here's where you probably have an advantage. In the Texans game, I don't think they're going to put Derek Stingley all over DeAndre Hopkins the entire game. That'd be a weird way, actually, to attack Kansas City. I think it's more likely he'd be on Travis Kelce on some of those snaps than DeAndre Hopkins. And right now, if you were the Texans, you got an elite-level tight end or elite-level corner, the same as the Chiefs do. Who do you choose? Like, if you just said you only got to let Derek Stingley guard one player the entire game. I know it doesn't work that way, but for one game, he's only going to guard one guy. Who do you take away if you're the Chiefs? I still think the answer is Travis Kelce, which does leave DeAndre Hopkins open. If it's just a wide receiver, I think it'd be Hollywood or Xavier before I said, well, I'm going to take away DeAndre Hopkins, because at least he's not going down the field to burn me. So DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is not likely to get the toughest coverage.
He's a possession receiver at this point in time in his career more than anything else. But that could also lead you to having still a pretty big day.
Yeah, 6 for 80 is not out of the question. I think that's nuts.
913-586-7965. From the 913, someone says, this is going to be so funny. You guys really think everything that happened last year is going to happen this year? Chiefs fans are crazy cocky. Let's go Texans. Yes, it is very crazy to think
that the 913 you're a Texans
It's very crazy to think that the back-to-back champs will once again play well in the postseason. I know it's wild to think that they're back-to-back champs with the same coach, the same quarterback, the same tight end, the same defensive lineman, the same shutdown corner, that they would possibly play well again in the playoffs. I know it's nuts. It's nuts to think that can happen.
Actually won more this year. This is a better team than last year, isn't it? Like, not just because the wins. Like, just straight up.
They're also just healthier heading into the postseason. I mean, I know we talked about the Week 18 last year. Kelce getting healthy, but in general, they're as healthy as an NFL team can be heading into a divisional round game.
They're just more talented, like particularly on offense.
I kind of want to do this topic now, maybe tomorrow or something, but like, if you made these two teams play each other in the divisional round, who would you think would win? This year's Chiefs teams or last year? Because that maybe answers part of your question, and what they're talking about is where are you at this point? Like Travis Kelce, and I don't know how to I know that you're like, this is not going to happen every year. It'd be like betting against something that has hit 10 consecutive times in a row. But I'm thinking it's weird. Travis Kelce, for his entire postseason career, Travis Kelce actually has a chance. He probably won't, because I don't think 3 games is quite enough to get it. Travis Kelce this postseason could become the all-time receiving yardage leader in NFL playoff history and the all-time touchdown leader in NFL playoff history. Both those things are on the table for him. So if we're talking all-time playoff performers, and people talk about these guys like showed up in the playoffs, different monster when they got there. Travis Kelce is one of the single greatest playoff players of all time in NFL history. Not just like Chiefs history. In the whole league. Very few people perform better than that. And yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is a future Hall of Famer who's never gotten to play any postseason games. So, I would think he'd be motivated to win a Super Bowl, perform well, do all those things. I don't think this is crazy.
Well, that's the whole reason why he came to Kansas City in the first place, right? I think because I'm sure he would have had other suitors, but he wanted to come to a place that he said he's wanted to play at before, and feels like he has the best chance to win.
I would love the backstory for the texter that, for whatever reason, is trying to act like the Chiefs have not shown anything that suggests they can win playoff games. It was bizarre to me.
I'm actually how are you a Texans fan in the 913?
Did he write do you think he wrote the Texans fight song? Do you think this was him actually that wrote it? I don't know if you helped write this either, Cody, but I think this guy did.
Remember this? Is this a real song?
Love the game of football. Down here, the game is big and it's raw. So grab a chair and sit a while and enjoy the game, Texas style. We are the Texans, the Houston Texans.
What is this from?
I don't know. It's in the system. It's been in the system for a while.
And we'll fight like Texans.
And it goes on from there. I think that gentleman that texted in might actually be the guy that's saying it. Texans fans are listening to Chiefs
2007
and in Kansas City talk. They're scouting. They're doing a little scouting, I guess.
Written by legendary NFL films composer Sam Spence. We are the Texans.
Was it really by Sam Spence? That's crazy.
If they beat him by 30, I'll rewrite that song for the Chiefs. They got to beat him by 30 though. I'm not.
The Chiefs have to beat the Texans by 30.
I think you're. Yeah. I think you're good there.
I'm not wasting my. I will say, I'm not wasting my time to rewrite that Texan song unless they just destroy it.
In fairness, Colin Cowherd said that they're going to blow out the Texans this weekend. Cowherd thinks it's not going to be close.
I don't know if they're going to blow them out. I think it's going to be a comfortable win for Kansas City, and by that in the NFL, that's like a 10-point win. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites in this game. It's also the playoffs, so more than ever, it doesn't matter what the margin is. Truly, like, just win, baby.
I'll
Like,
tell you what.
in the regular season, people can be like, you can't keep winning this way. In the playoffs, it doesn't freaking matter at all. Just find ways to win. I don't care if they have to win off of 3 straight doink field goals. Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah. Do you really think that, like, do you think the Bucks feel better because they lost on a doink field goal? Like, oh man, if only that thing. No, I think the team who won feels good about it. I think the Commanders feel good about it, which is different than that. I will say, somebody on the text line earlier, a smarter person than that one.
Oh wow!
Dang!
What? They said it, not me.
I didn't call the guy an idiot, even if it was an idiotic take.
Okay, that's fair, I guess. That take was stupid.
Hey, people say really dumb stuff. Doesn't mean they're a dumb person necessarily.
This is the guy that's
you know?
showing up to the restaurant during restaurant week when Cody has to serve. That's what this is.
Fair point. Fair point. I actually don't know their intelligence level, but that take was stupid.
That's a dumb take, yes.
Earlier on the text line, there was a good take, one that I happen to agree with. Somebody had said, hey, you guys aren't giving the Texans defense enough credit for what they're doing. I think the easiest reason, if you're going to say, hey, how do the Texans pull this thing off, is starting with, they have played significantly better defense over the last month than they were playing at any point during the regular season, where their defense was just as suspect as Baltimore's or others for as good a talent as they have. But can I point out one little quick thing before everyone's like runs to the bank and be like, hey man, they're playing way better defense. The teams that they beat playing way better defense are the Titans, the Dolphins before Tua came back, the Jags, and the Titans again, and the Cowboys with Cooper Rush. So I don't care. They are playing better defense, but based on opponent, they're still limited. They have 2 good pass rushers and 1 good corner, and that stands out. I'm not sure they have other defensive players to fear. Right? Like, that's what it is with they are playing better defense, but do you fear anyone else besides the 3 players we've mentioned a bunch of times?
Yeah, but I mean, in fairness, I would say most defenses, if I can list off 3 studs, that's a pretty darn good defense. My basis is just that, hey, they played each other not that long ago, and I saw the Chiefs effectively move the ball on the Houston Texans. But no, if I can list off Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, and Stingley Jr., those are 3 really, really good defensive players. If I go through most defenses remaining in the postseason, can you name, honestly, just quickly 3 Bills defensive players? Can you?
That's Armstead, Milano, and then Von Miller's still in the squad.
So guys that have been there for a long time. Not necessarily their best defensive
Rousseau.
Yeah.
I mean,
my point is, and are those 3 better than what we just named? No. So all I'm saying is, I don't think it's, if you're saying those are the only 3 we can name, well, yeah, that's a pretty damn good 3. I'm just basing it off of the Chiefs were able to effectively eliminate at times Will Anderson. And that's, as Ross Tucker told us, that's where the game's going to come down to. Can Joe Thuney and then Jawan Taylor on the other side, can they hold up again? It's not have we ever seen it happen? Yeah, I saw it happen just a month ago.
If you look back at that game, against that same defense, one that is playing a lot better in the second half of the season, with the same players, right? Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Derek Stingley Jr., and others. Mahomes went 28 of 41, 216, a touchdown. Kareem Hunt only ran the ball 11 times, 55 yards. Pacheco ran it 9 for 26. And then I will say, they did a nice job against the Chiefs wide receivers because Xavier Worthy had a great game, 7 for 65. The second leading receiver that day was Samaje Perine. So, they did a nice job holding pretty much everyone else down, including Travis Kelce. But also, that's partly because he completed a ball to 11 different, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9. He completed a pass to 11 different wide receivers in the game. Or 9 different, and he attempted a pass for 2 others. I guess it says 0 for 0 for them, so he must have dropped it. But, they moved the ball pretty effectively against them. So, it's kind of hard to, I think their defense is playing better, and we should take that a little bit seriously, but I'm not going to pretend like they're the 85 Bears either.
Well, and one of the things that we've talked about, last year in particular, I think, as well with the turnover stuff, is in that game, Cody, Houston had 2 turnovers, the Chiefs had none. Being able to protect the football obviously gives you the best chance to win, and in that case, Ross had mentioned maybe Houston gets a strip sack or something like that. That might be the only way that they do get something, is the defense being able to make a play. Because if the Chiefs turn Houston over, I don't know if Houston almost has to go perfect without turning the ball over and maybe force a turnover to be able to give themselves a legit shot to win, just because of what we saw in that one game. It was an 8-point game, but it felt like, if I remember right, the Chiefs were in control of the game. It never felt like it was on the brink of being a loss.
I think what you're saying and kind of what Ross was saying as well is just the Texans, their path to a victory involves, special teams touchdown or a defensive either touchdown or, hey, set up a really short field for C.J. Stroud. The Chiefs could win without having a turnover forced, right? I think that's the difference. When you're a team that's overmatched, and I think the Texans are overmatched heading into this game, doesn't mean they can't win, but they will need something special like that to happen. And of course, that happens all the time in the league, but that's what I think it would take for the Chiefs to be in real danger in this football game. Or if frankly, if they decide DJ Humphrey should start and he does struggle against Will Anderson, and then they try to go back to Joe Thuney, and for whatever reason, Thuney's just not as effective, then they're in big, big trouble at that point in time.
Yeah, if they just get straight out terrible left tackle play, we're probably having a different conversation. But again, 1, 2, 3. Texans were 7th best in turnover differential in the NFL. They were +3 better than Kansas City, who, by the way, ended up finishing in the top third-ish in the league, considering where they were started, because they just stopped turning the ball over. But as Ross Tucker also pointed out, and the league knows, turnovers are not a predictive stat. Just aren't. You could have been a great turnover team the entire year. That does not mean that is going to continue in the postseason. That's one of the Bills' biggest problems, because the top 5 teams in the NFL in turnovers, you ready this year in differential? The Bills, who are still alive and did not turn it over, they actually did a good job of getting the ball. The Steelers, the Packers, the Chargers, and the Vikings. Loss. What did they do, too? All lost the turnover differential. So as good as they were this year at holding on to the football, protecting the football, they all lost. The only 2 teams in the top 10 who won were Houston, Philadelphia, or 3 teams, Houston, Philadelphia, and Buffalo, who we previously mentioned.
Last year's postseason, the Chiefs, remember, they had turnover problems. Suddenly they didn't turn the ball over in the postseason.
Yeah.
It's.
Mahomes had never even thrown a pick in the divisional round. I'm sorry if that's a jinx, but everybody knows it, and that stat's been out there, so it's not really on me. And also, jinxes aren't real.
Yeah, again, don't have that kind of power. All right, let's get to the trash.
That sound you made
right when Drew went, I was like, oh, I know he doesn't have it. Damn. He doesn't have it ready.
He hit it with a damn.
Mm-hmm. You should have just said it right out loud. We could have dumped it. You should have just cursed, All right, let's get to the trash.
Just screamed.
So we talked about positive news involving the Missouri basketball program earlier, right? Big win against Florida. Unfortunately, one of their former basketball players, we were just discussing how some texts and things could just mean you have a bad opinion, a dumb opinion. Doesn't mean you're a dumb person. Then there are text messages that could implicate you in a federal crime that mean you are an absolute idiot. And I'm referencing Jontay Porter. You guys know last January the story came to light that he was allegedly,
he was
fixing games. Would have individuals that he would text to intentionally bet unders on points, assists, pulled himself out of games intentionally. That was what was alleged. Well, the text messages in the court case are starting to come out. Here's one sequence from January 23rd of last year. It's a screenshot of a chat between Porter and the co-conspirators' contacts, and then also the NBA player, which of course is Porter. The NBA player sends a text. I went back to the locker room to get my eye checked on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play much more. Another text. I'm not starting the second half, but if it's garbage time, I will shoot 1,000,000 shots. I mean, you could not make the case easier for the feds than what he'd point blank in a text message. During a game, you were providing this individual with information to tell him, hey, quickly bet the under. I'm not going to even be back out there in the second half. I mean, this is being a complete idiot. Yes, it is.
I think it's kind of crazy that you would send that. It's not just doing a goal. It is literally word for word. Hey, guys, I'm going to do the exact thing. I'm going to play 2 minutes. Following those 2 minutes, I will complain that my eye hurts. When that time is up, I will come back in later, jack up a bunch of shots, and lose. It's a crazy thing to admit in a
text all right
message.
there. It's all right
Don't
there.
Don't admit to crimes that obviously in text. Have a conversation. Maybe make a phone call. I would suggest in person, if maybe you're going to commit these, but definitely don't just spell it out via text. Somebody criminal defense attorneys, anytime you're watching Reels or TikTok or any of that stuff, they'll just be like,
is that where you get your legal advice? TikTok?
I'll just tell you right now. They're always warning, look, if you think that whatever you send in a text message, let's just say you,
it's there forever.
Yeah, if you sue somebody, they're gonna be like, all right, we'd like access to Alex Gold's phone real quick, and you're like, man, you were saying a lot of bad things about people. You're like, oh damn. I don't think you're going to read every text I said out loud.
Yeah,
it's a dangerous
they
place.
Can subpoena like your cell phone provider or whatever, right? And they can get your cell phone records and everything like that. Yeah, just idiotic behavior here for Jontay Porter. Not to mention, as we said when the story first came out, and when the story first came out, yes, he is. I think so. When it came out last January, it was also the fact that you're Jontay Porter, dude. That kind of betting activity is such a red flag.
Yeah,
like you're not betting on LeBron. People are betting unders on a guy that's a two-way player in the league or whatever he was at the time. Like it's just so you made it way too obvious. This is also why I don't know if it actually happened this year, but there's a push. The NBA was requesting some of the operators like FanDuel, Underdog, etc., to no longer offer unders specifically, because unders you can fix way easier than an over, and under on two-way players. And it makes sense because, like, at least on an over, hey, that guy's got to make the shots. Like, somebody else can, that guy has to make the shots. Unders, I can just purposely miss. I can purposely pull myself out of a game. I can purposely not pass the ball and get an assist. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Overs, like, if over 3.5 threes, I still got to make 4 threes.
Yeah, I still got to take them. I mean, every time they get the ball, I still got to jack. And if I just keep taking bad shots, coach might not leave me in very long.
Text line's picking up on something you said there. They said, shockingly, Cody knows how to get around committing a crime. More bank robbery and other advice coming your way.
It's harder to get away with crimes because the phone tells on you.
Well, there's cameras everywhere.
Says your location, tells gives all your text messages, looks up your internet search history.
That's right.
Like they can pretty much find it. If you've looked it up on your phone, you're running your own trouble,
Yeah.
Can they subpoena, like, if you went to the library to research that, can they subpoena your, like, library search history? It's under your ID number.
No idea. Yes, I would guess. They can probably put two and two together. They can probably put surveillance photos and video of you walking in said library at a certain time, and then under your username, there was this search from that. Like, I'm sure, yeah. To answer your question, I'm sure they
have to find out I went to the library, but yeah, same difference.
Oh, but, dude, you can, they can get, very few, you just can't, I feel like you just can't get away with anything.
Yeah. It's better to just not commit crime.
How about that?
That's this
Don't
show's
crimes.
official endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
Don't commit crimes.
Shout out to law enforcement. That is the trash of the day, the story with Jontay Porter. Up next, though, let's get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour and someone that's getting a second interview. We know there are a couple coaches getting interviews, but a member of the Chiefs front office has a real chance, it sounds like, to get a job. We'll get back to that, as well as how this game could go on Saturday based on how the entire season has gone for the Chiefs.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hey guys, if you've been feeling tired, you don't have the motivation, the drive, maybe you've been gaining weight or noticing a loss of muscle mass, that could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out now, and you can find out at the Low T Center. They make it easy to get all your levels checked. It's a simple test, on-site lab, you get the results back right there. And at Low T Center, it's not your typical doctor's office. The physicians specialize in treating low T, so they have all the information you need. They work with that TRT or testosterone replacement therapy for each patient and give an individualized plan that aren't just these basic standard treatments. That's a big thing. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients, and that becomes super important as you look for these treatment plans. For anybody who's a current patient, Low T Center is also offering a $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. And at Low T Center, you can get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications as well. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com. Book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Hey, it's Karen with Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Ready to replace that roof? We have flexible financing options, 12 months same as cash, and don't make a payment for 90 days. And that's just one of many options we offer. Get on the schedule now with our in-house Consumer Credit Center. One call does it all for flexible payment options, affordability, and peace of mind. Visit shamrockroofer.com. That's shamrockroofer.com or call 1-866-932-3545 today.
Hey guys, it's Cody and Alex to let you know that if you're looking for that new career, Centric is the place you want to go. Look, you've been sitting around in a job you don't like anymore, and you want to try something new. I get it. Who wouldn't want a job with better pay, better career advancement, and better opportunities?
So if you've been thinking of a new career, the new year is a great time to start.
Classes start in the middle of January at Centric. Contact our friend Russ. Centric.com. That's CENTRIQ.com.
After 30 years of doing knee and hip replacements, Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup thought there had to be a better way, and that led him to regenerative medicine.
I was one of the first orthopedic surgeons to do it.
Now, after 20 years of successful orthobiologic treatments, lots of clinical data, research, and teaching, Dr. Scheinkup is National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
They've done an amazing job of becoming the most significant orthobiologic and regenerative medicine practice in the United States. QC is so far ahead of the game in its science, its protocols, its people, its facilities.
So if you have chronic pain from arthritis and you want to avoid drugs and surgery, call the experts in this revolutionary field, QC Kinetics.
To give patients real lasting relief from pain, that's what I live for. That's my mission.
Get your free consultation now. Call QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
Real stories with Hellsberg.
After we met and we started dating, Nancy and I lived 150 miles apart, and I would drive my old jalopy car, and it was roughly a 3-hour distance. It took 3 years I drove across that state back and forth dating her every weekend.
Persistence.
And I would have never stopped. I had a lot of energy back then. 36 years ago.
At Hellsberg, find the engagement ring worthy of your story. Designed with the love, care, and craft it deserves. Visit a Hellsberg store or hellsberg.com.
You're listening to Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti, locally here on 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. Kickoff with Boomer Esiason and Mike Valenti is presented locally by ESPN Bet Sportsbook.
With us is Dr. Christian Hedinger with KCUC, Kansas City Urology Care. Let's talk about robotic surgery.
KCUC brought robotic surgery to Kansas City over 2 decades ago. We performed the first robotic surgery, and we have led the charge since.
How do you maintain the constant technology improvements?
Each generation of robotics that's come along, we have consistently stayed at the forefront.
What is special about the prostate cancer treatment at KCUC?
We have surgeons, radiation oncologists, medical oncologists, medical dispensary, pathology, all under one roof.
Is being an independent group provider, is that an asset for your patients?
Definitely. Being independent allows us to provide our patients care in an office setting as opposed to a hospital, where you get the most personalized, streamlined, and cost-effective treatment.
See the experts at Kansas City Urology Care. At KCUC, you see the best in KC. To make an appointment, visit kcuc.com.
It's playoff time, KC. Join Cody and Gold Friday from 10 to 2 as they broadcast live from the Rally House at Barry Woods Crossing. Shop the latest KC styles and official postseason gear, plus enter to win Rally House gift cards while you're there. Details at 965thefan.com.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you do. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
It's better over here.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the switch.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Free phones up to $300 off with 24 monthly bill credits and qualifying new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Contact us before canceling entire account to continue remaining bill credits. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See details at T-Mobile.com.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Chiefs coverage is brought to you by Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, the Scratch Kitchen delivers lunch in the clutch. I mean, where else can you order a 29-degree draft beer and a quickie combo on your lunch break? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
And our divisional round coverage is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. You guys can continue to hit us up on the J Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7965. So I think I would view this differently if I haven't seen years and years and years of the front office after losing pieces continue to draft at a high level and have success. But Mike Morganzi, the Chiefs assistant general manager, is getting a second interview today with the Tennessee Titans. Remember, they fired their GM earlier this week or late last week. I can't remember what it was. This GM, whoever it could be, will not be able to hire a new head coach right away. They will be inheriting Brian Callahan, right? I almost said Bill, his dad. Brian Callahan. So that's what's unique about this spot. And most national reporters agree that Mike Borgonzi, it's only a matter of time before he becomes a general manager. He had an interview with the Jets as well, but this is the second interview that we know of with the Tennessee Titans. As far as a Chiefs fan, you never want to lose good people in your organization that have helped build this championship team. But when you have Brett Veach as your GM, and you've already lost Ryan Poles, who was another highly respected individual, obviously Brant Tillis, who's in Carolina now. I guess I'm at the point now where it's like good for Mike Borgonzi's own well-being and stuff. I hope he gets the GM job. I don't think anybody should be worried about losing him. That's not a shot at him. My point is, like, they have just had this happen multiple times. They keep building within, and you have the guy in charge still there. Brett Veach is still ultimately calling the shots. Not that he doesn't have people around him to help him out. But I guess I would have been more worried about this kind of stuff the first time they lost Ryan Poles or whatever. Like, this doesn't really do much for me anymore.
No, I think a lot of what it comes down to at this point is they're plucked so infrequently, like kind of a weirdly low number considering the amount of overall team success that they have had. And as a result of that, I think you actually build up people better behind you. So, like, what happens is if your guy gets plucked pretty quick, it's kind of hard to build up behind you, right? Like, if you have your offensive coordinator taken after a couple of years, Gold, maybe the wide receivers coach, maybe the running backs coach hasn't been in as many of those meetings, seen how they work, understand how those things go, and therefore haven't gotten used to that. The thing that intrigues me about Mike Morganzi, though, is I still think there are some teams who are looking at Mike Morganzi as a package deal with one of the coordinators for the Chiefs. And if you lose Borgonzi, and he's getting a second interview there, but if you lose Borgonzi and Spags, or, to New York, or Borgonzi and Nagy, then it feels like it's maybe a little bit more of a loss from the people in house, but also they've lost like 5 offensive coordinators, and that's never mattered.
The only one that honestly would worry me would be if Spags actually left.
I was actually a little surprised to see Chiefs fans already like pre-coping for like a possible loss there by saying like, no, I think Cullen can handle it. I'm like, Spags is the single greatest defensive coordinator in NFL history. I don't think we want to just wash away his accomplishments here and pretend like he would be an easy person to replace. But Borgonzi's like second in charge, third in charge. Before him, Ryan Poles was second in charge, third in charge. Before that, Brant Tillis was on to the same level as Mike Borgonzi. And they've been able to handle those losses and never skip a beat. Arguably, Brett Veach has actually had some slightly better talent evaluations over the last 2 or 3 years versus maybe even than when some of those guys were there. Now, last year's draft, we'll see still. It's not as good as, the Creed Humphrey draft where all the guys essentially are deserving of second contracts. But last year's draft, like, it's definitely still got some potential. Like Hicks, Worthy's obviously shown a lot of signs. We'll have to wait on some of the other players, but like there are signs that this still works. It stinks to lose people, but if Berganza gets a Titans job, he gets a Titans job. I'd be stealing from the Chiefs too. They at least know how to run a successful organization.
People poach from the Patriots all the time. All the time. I mean, the Chiefs, of course, Scott Pioli was obviously a Patriots guy. Didn't work out, but that was the thought, right? If we're going to go get people from winning organizations that are around Brett Veach, people that are around Andy Reid, it makes a lot of sense. This happens in all, I would say, most fields to begin with. If you're talking about companies, you're gonna hire, some of that was not the CEO of a company, but maybe he's now going to become your CEO because he was already high up in another company or whatever. This is not a new concept of how this stuff goes down.
Is the NFL kind of the tougher, is GM harder than coach to predict? Because it's GM just feels like a collaborative position. Like when you're Brett Veach, we talk about it as if Brett Veach sits in a closet by himself and he's like, Xavier Worthy, nailed it. That's not how that process works.
Scouts and he's got
at all
other kind of evaluations going on for
40 people sit in a meeting and look at the same thing and openly discuss it and narrow and field and discuss. Really, as a GM, your job is just being a good manager of both. The difficult part about GM is you have to be a good manager of people on both sides. If you're a coach, you only have to be a good manager of players. If you're Mike Borgonzi, you only have to be a good manager of the people who work below you in the front office. Your job is not also to make sure that Andy is happy or Spags is happy or these guys. Brant Till is some of that. He's got to make sure the money makes sense for players, right? He was a cap guy on that end, and that's part of it. But I don't feel like the people management, it becomes much bigger. It's a much bigger jump than maybe other parts of the organization.
I think John Dorsey's a really good example of this whole thing, though. We all knew he was a great talent evaluator, but when it came to the money, it was a struggle for him. Balancing the cap, whether it was not having the right people around him to do it or he was trying to do whatever the reason was. Great talent evaluator. We all know the pieces he helped bring to this organization that are still part of this run right
Chris
now.
Jones,
some of the biggest
Patrick Mahomes.
Hall of Famers, right? Hall of Famers is what we're talking about. So, but he struggled.
Did he draft Travis Kelce?
I believe so. Would that have been the end of Pioli?
Might have been Pioli.
Andy was here, so look at it that way. So Andy didn't work with Scott Pioli.
Oh yeah, okay.
And Kelce was Andy pick. So there's our answer. It was
Dorsey.
Oh, great
Dorsey
talent
had some hits.
But struggled to manage some of the other things. Then maybe, who knows, relationship stuff always becomes a problem at some point, and that's why this whole thing has worked really well and why the Chiefs are where they're at. That truly, from top to bottom, they got a great working relationship going with everybody, whether it's ownership with Mark Donovan down to Brett Veach and, of course, the coaching staff all the way around. I mean, that's why this thing works.
Yes, it's why they're the most functional organization in all the NFL. For instance, it wasn't until today that all the rumors started up, I assume you saw the same thing, that Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson hated each other, it turns out, right? And you're like...
A lot of people don't like...
Turns out a lot of people don't like Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith.
There's a theme
You
here.
both might be the problem in this case.
There seems to be a theme. Sean Payne got a lot of crap because of, he clearly didn't like Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. I think he's redeemed himself a little bit this year with how he's handled the rookie quarterback in Bo Nix.
3 straight coaches who seem to have a run-in with Russell Wilson. And also, we've talked about this before. Same rule applies to you in your regular workplace. If you have worked at 3 different places and every place you're like, these guys are all a-holes. Every single place I work, full of a-holes. It's you. No one wants to tell you yet, you're the a-hole. You're not every place you work. They don't all suck. You suck. It's just the reality of it.
I saw Arthur Smith just got an interview.
Arthur
Smith just got an interview with the Bears. Just wrapped up an interview with Chicago too. Our teams really, as I said, there's no problem with interviewing a ton of people. I think it's a very good thing to do, generally speaking. But Arthur Smith, New York, who interviewed him, and now Chicago. If Chicago, I don't think they will. If the Bears hired Arthur Smith while having Caleb Williams, what a
exciting hire of all time.
What a joke that would be. They're better off just hiring Mike McCarthy, obviously, or Pete Carroll or something before you go to Arthur Smith.
There are so many better options.
Yes. I mean, there's numerous names I would.
Marcus Freeman is a better hire, and he didn't even coach in the NFL.
I mean, I would hire Kellen Moore who was the Eagles OC before I would hire Arthur Smith again. I mean, Arthur Smith had a good 10-week run or 8-week run, really, with Russell Wilson. And that was impressive.
Are we sure Arthur Smith even wanted to make the switch? Because wasn't it Tomlin who made the ultimate decision? I mean, they were 4-2 with Justin Fields.
No, I think Tomlin.
It was still the right. It really was still the right decision. They had enough success at one point in the season with Russ that it was the right decision.
It's hard to pull the plug in the final month of the season when you're going 0-4.
But they became predictable, and clock struck midnight on the Steelers, and George Pickens, I think every single week has shown as his career has progressed, while the talent's there, you're like, well, how could the Chiefs have not wanted him? I think we know exactly why he's not a Kansas City Chief after how he has handled his business. I think it's very evident. Like all the questions that I think it should be a reminder for all of us come draft time. Like when a player maybe doesn't get selected, and that doesn't mean they don't take chances on players. They obviously have. But if it's not always like George Pickens, I think everybody would acknowledge unbelievable talent, but it's more than just that when selecting. It's not even that you have to have, whether it's off the field, it's, hey, what's he like in the locker room? Is he a pain in the ass or not? And is he going to fit in with this team? And they clearly felt like no, and it's been true. Like, imagine if Mike Tomlin wasn't in Pittsburgh, this George Pickens thing would have been even worse.
I mean,
the latest report is he showed up to the Chiefs-Steelers Christmas Day game late. That's the report, at least.
Yeah. Versus the other two games coming up, as we continue to look at like the Chiefs and their upcoming game on Saturday, the other two games that they might possibly play, or the other two teams, they might play in the AFC, the Ravens and the Bills. Those games are far enough back in the Chiefs' schedule that I don't feel like I've got a good sense of what they were. As a matter of fact, I think correctly pointed out on YouTube, I don't think Mahomes has thrown an interception since that Bills game. And they didn't have Hollywood Brown and Amini who hadn't fully come back and Pacheco and a million different things. The Ravens game. The Texans game, if that's how that game went the first time, what is me to not think that it's going to go exactly that way again? I know games aren't carbon copies of each other, but CJ Stroud looked like he looked most of this season kind of average. The Chiefs still only won by 8. The offensive line held up pretty good against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, but it wasn't a runaway. But they had firm control of the game. It is kind of how I expect the gameplay in this game to go again. And to say what Drew, this is where I'll give Drew not as hard of a time. I think people were burying him because he was talking about the close games the Chiefs play because it made it sound like the dumb takes that people have, which is like they've just been lucky this whole time. I don't think you can luck your way to 15 wins. I don't think that's possible. But I do think if you play 17 games and you play a whole bunch of them close, yeah, I think the playoff game will be close. Like, even against the Texans, I don't think it's going to be some runaway game where in the middle of the third quarter, Gold, you and I are texting each other, be like, well, do we want a Baltimore? Do we think it's going to be a Baltimore guest or a Bills guest next week?
Yeah, the stuff yesterday was in the context of is it an upset or not, and how big of an upset. I would say for just is it a close game? Yeah, most NFL games are close, and it's later in the postseason, so the teams and the quality of teams you're playing are better. I will still say, as I've said a few times already this week, and I think the Texans are the worst team remaining in the field, though. So
do you think that this is the most likely blowout?
Yes,
of all the NFL games.
Commanders can't stop the Lions. So that's we can talk tomorrow.
They're the biggest favorite.
So. Yeah, the Commanders is a great story. I think Jaden Daniels, the only hesitation with could they keep it close is he looks like he's just a big game player. But I don't know how on earth the Commanders defense is not good. So I don't know how
hasn't been good all year.
I don't know how they stop the Lions. So that one has blowout potential. Otherwise, yeah, Chiefs Texans. I mean, we did see them play a few weeks back. And the Chiefs won by 8 and were in control. And now there's no Tank Dell in the game on top of it. And the Chiefs are healthier than they've been at any point this year. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance of it. But typically, if you're just, putting, the odds out there of blowout versus not, yeah, the favorite would be that it's a narrower margin. That's usually how the NFL goes. But this might be the last week where we see a blowout happen. The rest of the games, AFC title, NFC title game, Super Bowl, could all be within 6 points.
That's the first game of the weekend, right? Obviously.
Chiefs, yeah.
I mean, if it's a blowout, just be ready for not me, but there's going to be the text messages, the tweets, or tweets rather, are going to just come flooding in again if it's another blowout.
Oh yeah, probably.
But does it work the other way? If the national title game on next Monday night is a blowout, will you guys all have the same reaction?
It's like college football stinks.
Yeah, is that the same? That's my point. Is like my idea is that the whole thing is ridiculous. One game and 2 games, 3 games, or whatever is crazy. If the national title game is not competitive, I can promise you, I'm not going to text you and say, "See, college football sucks." That will not be my
complaint about college football will be the same as it always is. This game starts at 6:30 and it'll end at midnight, and that should be a crime. College football officials should be put into
college football.
They should be put into jail for the idea that a game could start at 6:30, end in regulation, and end at midnight.
It's never been.
It'll be over hopefully by 10:15.
You are exaggerating a little bit. It's not midnight.
I'm watching the clock.
But
it'll be 10:15 though. It might be 10:15
before that. 10:15.
It's all because of halftime though in college football now. Because halftime's a good 30 to 45 minutes. Hey, it's better
crazy.
It's better than college basketball having the final at 9 o'clock at night.
True.
Essentially.
And last night's Missouri-Florida game
was
where
late
they
too,
reviewed every play, every sequence, every possession.
That game started at 8 o'clock.
That was crazy. But yeah, look, I do think this. Someone texted in, and this was a text we got a lot. Someone said the Chiefs haven't shown they can blow out anyone this year. I would say the last couple weeks they've shown that
that's about as closest.
That's as
for them
close
to
as
beat
been.
Pittsburgh. What was it, 29-10? I mean, that's
29-10, 27-19. We don't have to go through the whole definition of a blowout thing and everything again. Was it remember the Chiefs beat the Browns 21-7. I said it was a blowout, and people said it wasn't. So I don't know what everybody can't agree on what a blowout is or isn't.
Oh, we did have an argument over what was a blowout. So that's true.
We don't need to go back down that again. But yeah, I think the Chiefs can win comfortably. How about that? Maybe that's the word we're using. They'll win comfortably on Saturday against the Houston Texans.
Can we, as a show, make a bet on the over/under of the runtime of the national championship game?
We can say that for Monday.
It's going over 10-15.
The game's not till Monday night. We can do a Monday night or something if you want.
Okay.
And we can do something like that. The other fun thing that come playoff time that everybody focuses in on more is the referee assignments. We had the fun a couple years ago with Carl Jeffers after his whole Raiders game mess, and the fans made him cry, and then he ended up being the official in the Super Bowl. And so ever since then, everybody keys in on officiating. I saw something circulating nationally, and I hope we kind of just nip this in the bud quickly. And that is, Clay Martin's the official Saturday, guys. And guess what? Mahomes has never lost a game in which he's officiating. Reminder, Patrick Mahomes has 26 losses total.
His whole career?
Yeah, he's like 100 and something and 26 in his entire career. He hasn't even lost 30 in his entire career. So we got to stop with that. Also, because of that, thanks to a listener yesterday who responded to my tweet and did some of the research for us. Mahomes also has never lost a game officiated by Brad Rogers and Adrian Hill and Alex Kemp and Jerome Boger and Trey Blake and Scott Novak and Alan Eck, as in there are that many officials that he's 32-0 with. So the point is, hey, if you're damn good and you win a lot of games, there's going to be some officials where you've never lost a football game.
But they could have chosen an official that he had lost a game.
I was going to say, I'm waiting until the Texans fan texts back in. Well, the fact that he's undefeated against that many, I'll tell you what, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just crazy. If people just do a little, step back for a second, we're like, he wins a lot of football games. So yeah, it makes sense that there'd be some officials that he hasn't lost games with. It's some of it's just common sense. Step back for a second. He wins a lot of. My guess is quarterbacks like Aiden O'Connell and prior to the Vikings season, Sam Darnold, they probably had a lot of losses with this official because you know what? They lost a lot of football games. It's I bet you Josh Allen has a pretty decent record with officials too because he wins a lot of football. Tom Brady probably had a really good record with officials because he won a lot of football games.
I would borderline be surprised to find out if Patrick Mahomes had a losing record with any official, right? There's not some official that he's 1-2 with, right? I'm assuming that every single head official in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes has a winning record with. That's how we're digging that deep for conspiracies. Josh Allen was hugging the referee in the last week, and you're going so far in Chiefs conspiracies to dig up his record against a referee.
It's crazy.
Is it 50-0 or is it 2-0 too? Did you see what the number is? Because I'm going
with this official,
yes,
Clay Martin. It's
gonna be 2 or 3-0, and I'm just gonna be so offended that it's not 47-0. He just every time Clay Martin's the official, he's just an unstoppable monster.
It's got to be more than just a couple games with Clay.
Yeah, I don't have the record of that official.
You're saying, Cody, if Mahomes was 1-2 against somebody, you would be concerned that it actually is the opposite in this. In which
I'd be more concerned. I still would probably say it's not.
So it can be explained. It can be explained away so easily. He wins a lot of football games.
Yeah. He's 6-0 with Clay Martin. He's also 6-0 in the divisional round. The ref didn't rig it for him every single time he's played in this round of the
Martin's
NFL
not
playoffs.
doing every divisional round Mahomes game. That would be interesting actually to see if that was the case. But it
really is. I looked up Mahomes' record with Clay Martin, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different immediately. 5 different articles from people being like, Mahomes has an unexpected playoff advantage.
Yeah, overall, there are 8.
Oh my God!
There are 8 officials in the league currently, and guys get promoted all the time. But right now, there are 8 officials in which he has never lost a game in which they officiated.
So a quarter?
But he's 30. But he's
entire NFL.
But that's 32 games worth.
Oh man,
it's
funny.
Or more than that, 38 games, I guess.
I will say that for the fans who feel the need to really the people who write those articles, I feel sorry for you. You're taking the time to really dive deep into this? Because it really does not matter.
People are miserable, and anytime you win, people want to look for any reason why. Like, there's no way they can just be this dominant or this good. There must be some conspiracy. What's so crazy about it is this franchise during their run has not had any cheating scandal other than random guy on Twitter. Like the Patriots during their run, former coaches on Belichick's staff would get fired or leave and then write tell-all books, or Eric Mangini would be out there talking about cheating. The Chiefs have lost multiple front office members. The Chiefs have lost multiple coordinators. And not once has there ever been a story about somebody telling all, like, oh yeah, we were doing this and cheating. Not one. It would have come out by now. So it's so bizarre that this is the franchise people are pinpointing that there's any cheating or any, like, when the Patriots actually were the ones cheating. So it's bizarre to me.
Again, Josh Allen had like a gentle embrace with the ref pretty much last week. And now this?
Well, like we talked about earlier, there's one quarterback who flops all the time. It's Josh Allen.
He is, yeah.
He is.
I wonder if the
an
NFL
NBA player.
I wonder if the NFL or soccer, some of these other leagues, will ever adopt the NBA flop model. Because the NBA, they had to do it because the fans really started to complain. They're like, we don't like this. We don't like that players are constantly like, because LeBron do it, other people do it. Like, we don't like when these guys throw their arms back and do this. So will you get rid of it in the game? And so they're like, yeah, if you guys don't like it, we'll get rid of it. Like, does anybody like when a quarterback flops? And there aren't that many quarterbacks who do it, so they're not going to police it. And I get why, if there isn't a rule against it, I kind of want my quarterback doing it. I don't even blame Josh Allen for doing it. Take every advantage you can get on an NFL football field.
Up next, we'll get to what's trending here on Cody and Gold. We'll also talk more about the latest on how things could look if the Chiefs three-peat, as in how the celebration could look. You might be saying, hey, what are you doing? Remember, things take time to prepare. We'll explain that next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
All right, you're with me. You're on the Missouri side, and you want to figure out how to join 5 million players and $2 billion won. Underdog is the way to do that, and they make it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performance. We got the playoff games coming up this weekend. How about some of the ones that I like? How about higher than 247.5 pass yards for Patrick Mahomes, or higher than 12.5 yards to be the longest run for Patrick Mahomes? I already told you how I feel about Travis Kelce and what I think he'll do in the postseason. All of those are available over at Underdog. Cook up some of those fire entries and with your shot at real cash prizes all playoffs long. You can create entries from football selections, mix and match across different sports. I got like an NBA, NFL one going on right now. Those are all choices at Underdog. It's the only champs platform that puts the power of cash in your hands. And now you can either keep it riding or tap the entry win now and cash out whenever you want. Every dog deserves their second chance too at Underdog. And with Underdog Rescues, you get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes you to lose your pick. Underdog is the place to play champs, so download that app, sign up with promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
I'm Mitch Holtis, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Choosing the best doctor for your eyes is one of the most important medical decisions you'll ever make. Whether you're considering blade-free LASIK, all laser cataract surgery, and premium lens implants, or want a world-renowned doctor to help with your glaucoma, macular degeneration, dry eyes, or diabetes, trust my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein. Call Silverstein Eye Centers to make an appointment, 816-358-3600. Experience the best eye care in Kansas City.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
What is GMTVCC? That's a mouthful. The translation for GMTVCC.com is Give Me the VIN Classic and Collector Cars. It's a brand new buying division of Give Me the VIN, but it's for classic and collector cars. Experienced pro buyers will appraise an offer on your 1970 Hemi Cuda or 1988 Fox Body Mustang or your granddad's old 1985 square body Chevy truck. GMTVCC.com is where you go to get real money for classic and collector cars to get paid now. That's GMTVCC.com, brought to you by Give Me the VIN.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000. Or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com. And I look forward to working with you.
Money-back guarantees and parts and labor warranties mean you're not just buying products, you're securing your investment. For a limited time, receive a free furnace when you purchase an AC. Schedule a complimentary proposal online at AnthonyPHCE.com.
Casey's has 8 new coffee roasts that have been described as having rich aromatics that entice any palate. But, we're not sure what that means, so we just call it darn good coffee. It's not crazy. It's Casey's. Get a free any-size coffee with Casey's Rewards. See Casey's Rewards for details.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Jefferson's Wings, Burgers, Oysters, located in Lenexa and North Kansas City, proud lunch partner of Cody and Gold.
Divisional round coverage of the Chiefs and Texans on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer partner of your Kansas City Chiefs.
What's up, KC? It's Hollywood Brown. Catch the play-by-play all season long with Mitch, Dana, and Clean right here on your home of Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Let's talk some college basketball, starting with the Missouri Tigers, who got a win against number 5 Florida last night. I think it's easily the biggest win that Missouri has had since joining the SEC. We all know earlier in the year they had the upset win against Kansas. We'll talk more Tigers later, but they have put themselves absolutely in the NCAA tournament field. They're sitting at 14-3. They're undefeated at home. They get Arkansas this weekend as well, a chance to keep the momentum. They'll be ranked next week, will the Tigers. K-State, meanwhile, their struggles continued last night at Bramlage Coliseum. They lost to Texas Tech. The Wildcats now sit at, let me scroll all the way down, 7-9. Lost 4 in a row, 1-4 in conference play. Kansas takes on top 5 Iowa State
what you
tonight.
did. They scroll all the way
Well,
down.
I did have to scroll.
I'm usually considered the K-State here. That was hating.
I had to. No, I
hate. So let me scroll all the way down.
I
heard it, Drew.
I literally had to scroll all the way down. Cody, they're at the very bottom, other than Cincinnati and Colorado. I had to scroll down. If you Google standings, it doesn't show the very bottom half of the conference. So I said, let me scroll all the way down. There it is.
That's the way you said it. Next up on What's Trending, Quinn Ewers is officially heading to the NFL draft. That, according to Pete Thamel. Today is the last day if you are out of the college football playoff finals to declare for the NFL draft. Otherwise, you have to go back to college and play there. I think some people thought Quinn Ewers would enter the transfer portal and find some way to get paid big time bucks. I mean, for instance, Carson Beck got $3 million to go to Miami, etc. Everybody knew he was out because they were going to hand the keys over to Arch Manning. I am still surprised to see him go. Some of the early stuff says maybe he's like a third-round pick. So you could certainly go up with performances inside of draft combine stuff, but still, third-round pick, and you could have made $3 million going to college? Probably chosen that.
Right, unless there just were no options because it was so late in the process. Otherwise, yeah, go get your money while you can. You can be, my guess is you'll still be a third or fourth rounder next year if you played in college. As long as you didn't tear your ACL, you're going to probably still be in the same draft position, but at least you're making $2 million or whatever you would in the portal. So that was surprising as well. Next up on What's Trending, coaching carousel stuff continues. We now know the first formal interview the Dallas Cowboys have requested. That's with former Jets head coach Robert Saleh. I understand that Jerry Jones and Dion have talked based on reporting, but in terms of official interview requests, this is the first one.
That's not nothing. I mean, at least because, the Dion stuff's out there. They're actually trying to interview someone. That would be...
Well, just keep Mike McCarthy. What are you hiring Robert Saleh
That would
for?
be one of the least inspiring hires of all time. I'm not even kidding.
I don't think he'll be that much.
Next up on What's Trending, Sunday Night Baseball schedule is officially out for the upcoming 2025 Major League Baseball season. Royals got 0 games. None.
I'm not surprised.
I would hate to see the top 5 player in the entire sport on a playoff team from last year. I would hate to see that on a Sunday night. I gotta watch the Phillies 4 times or the Yankees 3 times short. I love how baseball's always like, regionalized sport, and then to try to do anything to actually help that. There's like, now here are the Yankees and Dodgers, and you get nothing else.
Yeah, unfortunately not surprised. This is how this goes. It'll be, as you said, the Dodgers and Yankees. It'll be Cardinals against Cubs, and it'll be stuff like that.
That's where the NBA's gotten too.
Not even kidding. It's like
they don't promote.
It's Mets Yankees or something, and Mets somebody 2 weeks in a row, like the exact same opponent 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
just
Sunday Night Baseball is just for the big markets. It really is. That's what they've made. I know in the NFL we talk about all these primetime slots, but in the NFL you can be the biggest star in the league and be in Kansas City. You can be the biggest star in the league and be in Cincinnati. You don't have to be in New York or L.A. That's another great thing. We talk about the NFL and how they've approached that. You can be marketable and all that wherever you're at. And in baseball, Sunday Night Baseball, they have no interest in having Kansas City or Cincinnati in their time slots.
How many primetime slots are there actually in baseball? Are there only
not a ton?
There's only like two a week, right?
Sunday Night Baseball, there's 1 a week, and then
Friday
night,
Apple.
the Apple one, yeah, that's new. So really 2 a week. But I mean, you only get but that's the point. You only get these like 40 games to highlight, or 30 games to highlight baseball to other people, and one of the best players on the planet will not be highlighted during that stretch. That doesn't make sense to me.
That is what's trending here on Cody and Gold. Don't forget, we'll be out at Rally House, Barry Woods Crossing, coming up on Friday. It is that time of the year. Playoff time means it's time for you to get out to your local Rally House, and we'll be at one Friday and gear up to go back to back to back in the Kingdom. Rally House has got all the new gear they're rushing in for the playoffs, including postseason gear. You can shop at 16 KC Metro locations and online at Rally House. We'll be doing our show up north at that location in Barry Woods Crossing throughout Friday, 10 to 2. Come by, say hello. We'll have some gift cards we're giving away as well, so it'll be a perfect way to kick off the postseason three-peat run. See you Friday.
It's going to be a great time. You need your gear, fresh gear for the postseason. Like you said, we'll be up at Rally House, and we'll have some gift cards to give away during that stretch as well. Don't know how we're going to give them away yet. I know we can't tell you, first person to get here, because that's not safe. But we'll find a way to get you some Rally House gift cards while we're up there.
So we all know if this thing goes the way everybody in Kansas City wants it to go, we could be talking about another celebration in Kansas City in less than a month, I guess, from now, as a matter of fact. A three-peat celebration. And we know with that, in years past, that's always been a parade. And I don't have to remind everybody about the terrible events last year at the celebration and at the parade. And I bring this up again, not to put a downer on anything, but because there was an update on what the Chiefs or the city could be planning. And if you're also saying, why are you talking about this? They haven't won the Super Bowl yet. Well, because planning for parades take weeks and months for security reasons and for other reasons to plan. And Sam McDowell over at the Kansas City Star had an article last night that had some quotes from the mayor and other officials discussing that at least one idea, this is not a sure thing, but one idea is considering dropping the Super Bowl rally at Union Station portion of the celebration, which we all know was the site of last year's shooting. In this, it talks about doing a parade still, and then there would be more of a ticketed, I don't want to say private event that would have some of the stuff that you would normally have on the stage at Union Station. This is not confirmed. It doesn't mean this is what they're going to choose to do, but it has been considered. And I think it's interesting. We can ask you guys on the text line, 913-586-7965. What do you make of that? We know over the last couple of years, we have had millions of people that have been able to go out to these celebrations in parade and then the Union Station rally. Go back to even in 2015 with the Royals and what that rally was like also at Union Station. I think after the shooting last year, there was a conversation of like, hey, everybody's going to have a different comfort level with taking their family. I'm not saying it's which way is right or wrong, and how everybody will have to make that decision.
If you ask them in a week after versus a year after, their answer is probably different.
I think
in some cases
in the city's decision making, it's like, do they believe they can create a safe environment in that spot this time and this year? Is that possible? And it sounds like that is what they're basing this off of. Individuals, I think there's some of you listening that are saying, I'm going to go there no matter what. That's fine. I think some of you are saying, I'm never going again. That also fine. And I think that's what's interesting about this decision. And it's unfortunate there were real life, and unfortunately people lost their life due to the events a year ago. There are also what I would call more just an impact and results from events that can change the way you go about your business in future celebrations, and this could be one of them.
I'll say it's a really tough call, because if you ask me right now, like, hey, like last year, my kids didn't come down. The year before, they did. Sometimes just a case-by-case, timing, whatever, right? They didn't come down last year. They did 2 years ago. I'd probably be less inclined to bring my kid. Like, as it sits right now, I'd probably be less inclined to put them in, not harm's way, right? Because you don't really know. But I got to be honest, the idea of like, hey, let's just get rid of the rally at Union Station, or let's make this thing smaller, or it's a private thing, or those, doesn't make it feel like a celebration anymore instead of a very, very, very short drive in a car. The rally is more important than the other part. Right? The rally is the bigger thing than just
people look forward to hearing the players speak.
Yeah,
sure.
than the buses driving down the street. And yeah, I want to hear the players speak, but it's like that's probably the most important. I want to hear Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes, whatever. So like that is the bigger part of it. But I don't think that there's any way that you can control it in a way that's going to be like, well, nothing can happen here. But that is every. And that is not limited to the parade. I will say if you are going to anything with a large group of people, a concert, a Chiefs game, there are so many people and so many elements and so many things going to happen. I actually don't think it's controllable. So I don't think you should be worried it's going to happen again by going down there just because it happened before. It can happen at any large scale event. And so like that is a little bit of the like constantly thinking about it. But I will be at the parade thinking it differently. Like it won't feel the same anymore in Kansas City in a lot of ways because of that, though.
No, I think,
for me.
Yeah, I think the quote from Mayor Lucas, kind of what you're saying in this story from the Star was, we're going to keep being a city that does things. We're going to keep being a city that creates opportunities for people to come together. And then it goes on to say, maybe not at a large rally outside Union Station. He also rejected any suggestion in the piece that the city should shy away from holding large public celebrations. To your point as well, it's like you can't stop doing things and live in fear 24/7, right? But there are going to be people that make a decision and a choice, and maybe that's what it comes down to. There's probably people that believe they should have the rally, and people should be able to make their own choice whether or not to go to said event
and how to keep themselves safe.
Some people have said, why not do it at Arrowhead? And it's mentioned in this piece as well. The challenge with that is, okay, you got 75,000 at Arrowhead. Well, then you would have a large group of people standing in the parking lot as well. How is that any different than than having the rally at Union Station, right? In terms of like, why would that be safer? Somebody suggested having it at T-Mobile. Sure, only 17,000, 20,000 people are going to have access to that. So there's
versus the 500,000 that might show up.
Unfortunately, there's not a perfect scenario to lay out here. There's going to be some people that are going to be upset no matter what they do. Ultimately, it's going to come down. You have kids, Cody, so you make a decision what you think is best for you and your family. Everybody can do the same kind of deal. And I think there's a real possibility, though, man, that there's not a Union Station rally like we had a year ago. Does it mean it's that way forever? I don't know. Maybe it's something that because time, to a certain extent, I'm not saying we can ever replace. Somebody lost their life, so I'm not saying that will ever change. But for the public sentiment around something
and the comfort
over time, does that change? So maybe it's for a year, and I say that, and you got to win a Super Bowl for this. But there'll be other celebrations. We're talking in the context of a Super Bowl and this piece in the Star, but there's other celebrations we probably will have over the years. This will come up
at some point because at some point they'll win it. The thing is that it's because it's the year after. I just think it'll be on your mind, and of course it will. That's just a reality. And if you make it a ticketed event, even if it's a free ticketed event, unless you have a ticket, you can't come down to Arrowhead and do it. I don't hate that. But I do still think it's if you're not going to do the thing where the players stand up there and they're a part of it, and then it's not a celebration parade. And I'll point out what I know it happened here. There have been other teams who have won championships since the Chiefs won championships.
Yeah.
Those teams still did parades in those cities. They did not change the scope. They did not change what they would normally do. They did not change the route they went to, the stage they said. The only one they actively changed was the one during COVID when all the Bucs players were on boats.
That's right.
That is the only one. Tom Brady almost threw the trophy into the water. That was the only one in which I think they actually changed it. My guess is they'll have a lot of these conversations because they want people to feel comfortable that they're actually considering it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with working through the options. But in the end, it should pretty much be the same event. If you wanted to add more security closer to Union Station, I think that's fine. But I don't think that the safety is dramatically different just because it happened. I just think I'll think about them differently. It'll just change how I'm at them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think
the event should change.
Ultimately, I think it should just be people will have a decision to make on their own whether or not they feel comfortable going. Or that also applies to the city though too, right? Does the city feel that they can put on a safe event as well? And if they believe that that's possible and they believe they can do every possible security measure, it doesn't guarantee nothing happening, right? They were prepared last year as well before the fatal shooting happened. But if they believe they can put together a plan that they believe should allow for a safe parade and rally to take place, then yeah, I think they should do it. And then ultimately, your family, your individual decision when it comes to that, and there'll be plenty of people there's no doubt I think the attendance would be down. Because of what we're describing. But we bring this up just because there was an update in the Kansas City Star on what the city is considering doing.
I still don't think we're jinxing.
And these preparations take place far in advance of an actual Super Bowl champ. They can't decide 3 days before what to do for a parade.
Text line's really trying to accuse us of a jinx. I've said this before. Jinxes aren't real. I'll talk in the middle of a no-hitter. I will. It doesn't matter. Drew, I think you've now worked with me for a little over a year. I don't believe in jinxes. I don't think if I say, this happens or there, it's not plausible. I do think good luck exists. And so us not going to the Super Bowl, that's hard to say, That could go anyway. But the jinx part, nah.
You're saying if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl and
Alex and I aren't there?
Since we're
that's
not
a
going,
jinx. That's just, that could just change fate.
What I'm saying is you guys being at the game, the luck goes up a little bit for the Chiefs, just in general. Before the game even starts, they're a little bit more likely to win because you guys are going to the game.
That's correct. That's correct. I do believe in that, I'll say.
Not that they won't win when you guys aren't there, but you guys help. Essentially, you're giving your part to the team, I guess, in a way. Andy Reid should thank you guys as well.
A little bit back on what we were talking about before we got into that on what's trending. Drew, I'm counting on you as a college football guy. Is Quinn Ewers good? I'm just trying to figure out for the teams in this division, like the Raiders, who might be looking for a quarterback. Is he any good?
I think if the Raiders selected Quinn Ewers, you shouldn't be that concerned. But I don't.
That's a no.
But I think that situation. Again, it's the Raiders, so given past history, you shouldn't be concerned if many quarterbacks are the Raiders just because they're the Raiders.
They've not done a great job at selecting quarterbacks.
There have been guys who have been okay in college who have been really good actually in the NFL. And then there have been guys who have been really good in college, many guys who have been really good in college, but nothing in the NFL. I lean towards he would start probably, but you shouldn't be any more concerned about him than you should Bo Nix. Or maybe at this point, you should
Bo Nix had a really nice year.
You should be less concerned about Quinn Ewers than Bo Nix, in my opinion.
Do you think Bo Nix at any point will threaten to win a division against Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, but maybe
God,
it's
you
not
said
because
no
of
so fast.
Maybe it's not because of Bo Nix though.
Let me ask you:
I think that's part
how
of
many
it.
times? And maybe there was. I think there was one year, maybe two. How many years with Derek Carr? How many years did Derek Carr threaten the Chiefs to win the division? Because that's what Bo Nix is going to be.
1 to 2 he threatened, but he didn't actually win it.
I think it's
there was like in a week 11, 12, 13 game where like had the Raiders won it, maybe they had a chance of winning the division.
Is it not any different though? Because who the Raiders have as head coach at the time compared to they had Josh McDaniels, correct?
Yeah.
I think they can compete with Bo Nix to win a division, but it's not because of Bo Nix. It's more because of Sean Payton or because of the defense being as good as it is.
Like, I know people can lose divisions. I just feel like it takes injury in order to do it. Like, if you go back and you looked at, like, Peyton Manning's run in the AFC South, did people win the division over Peyton Manning very often?
Like, no, not really. I mean, maybe if it was...
That one year that we were talking about with Blake Bortles, did they win the division that year?
Yeah, but was Peyton...
I don't even know if Peyton was around anymore.
When did Peyton go to Denver?
2013?
Something around that time frame.
2012, yeah.
He won it in 15, so he's only there a couple of years. I mean,
I don't remember the exact year, but yeah, he was obviously the Colts were done with him. They were worried about the neck injury.
The only thing I can think
Kansas
of
City
is
tried to get Peyton Manning too.
The only thing I can think of is maybe the Titans potentially at some point with Steve McNair. You know,
I mean, maybe, but again, Peyton Manning. Here's
maybe
like in the early going, sure, when he wasn't winning every division. But when he turned 27 on, he won 12 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in a row. I don't think anybody took the division away from him as he was winning 12 games every single season in perpetuity.
I know that because of how Herbert looked in the playoffs, everybody will be like, no, there's no chance. I still will pick the Chargers will, if there's anybody over the next 5 years that could win the division other than Kansas City, I still think I would put my money on it being the Chargers. And I know you're like, well, Herbert was terrible in the playoffs. I'm talking about just winning the division, baby. I'm not talking about winning playoff games. I'm just talking about putting together enough wins and beating the Chiefs once or twice in the regular season to put some pressure on them.
This is why I am genuinely interested. Once we get through all the playoff stuff and the Chiefs are done beating the Texans, beating whoever wins between the Bills and Ravens, and then eventually winning the Super Bowl on their way to the three-peat, whenever all of that is done, I am kind of interested in what happens with the Raiders offseason because right now, the other two, I know what they are. I can expect it is Harbaugh and Herbert. It is Peyton and Nix. And until they show cracks, as in one of those guys is not going to get re-signed or Nix, because like at this point, Nix probably had a good enough rookie season. He's probably already locked in to a second contract.
He's going to be their starter for another 6+ years at least.
Yeah, so like I already know how long those two guys are going to be. I got no idea what the Raiders are doing. I have the
That's why they're resetting the whole thing. They're resetting the whole thing, and it sounds like a lot of people believe ultimately Ben Johnson's the head coach for the Raiders, but quarterback, yeah, who's the guy? Is it somebody they draft, or do they go the veteran route for a year? Sam Darnold, or Cousins?
If they do draft somebody, they might, and Shador and they aren't willing to trade up, they might get stuck with Quinn Ewers or stuck with Jalen Milroe.
I love that. That's like the worst
somebody
way
else
to build a
happens
franchise.
to play well. I'm sure there's another couple names
over the
Curtis
next 5
Rourke,
years.
maybe I don't know.
Oh yeah, okay, over the next 5 years. I don't know how many you think the Chiefs are winning 5 more in a row or not, but the Raiders would easily still be the least likely pick for all the reasons we just brought up. I think the Chargers would be most likely, then Broncos, then Raiders. I mean, I don't know how you could maybe you flip the order. You disagree with me on the Denver versus Chargers, but I don't know how you wouldn't say the Raiders are the least likely franchise to.
You don't know their coach or quarterback or general manager.
They have nothing.
They just have one owner with a bowl cut. Tom Brady's got 1% now. That's the only things in place.
Text line mentioning
they got a nice stadium.
Cody, the text line mentioning the Curtis Painter year, the Colts lost the division, which obviously makes sense because Peyton wasn't playing.
Okay, fine.
I think I saw 2011. I don't know if that was the Curtis Painter year or not. I can't remember. And then 2008, the Titans went 13-3. The Colts might have gone 12-4 that year. The Titans beat them in that year.
Okay.
So just 1 year.
So
Peyton Manning
one
was
time.
beaten. Yeah.
I mean, that's also just part of it.
It's been weak.
This run, by the time the Chiefs are done with this run, and I don't know when it'll be, it might be another decade, I don't know. But when they're actually done with this run, this current one, and they either have to rebuild into a second run like the Patriots did, or this damn thing just never ends. The counting stats are already ludicrous. The consecutive number of AFC Championship game appearances gold, the consecutive number of divisions won, the consecutive number of double-digit, the consecutive just playoff appearance. All of it. All those numbers are also comically higher than anyone else. It's always almost impossible to imagine anyone taking the division away from them. Because I got to convince myself that Bo Nix is going to win at least 12 games. He can be pretty good. 12 games, a lot of games. It's going to be Sam Darnold. I'm still convinced Sam Darnold's the Steelers quarterback. I
would say Raiders, Steelers would be the first two names that I think.
What about Tennessee?
No way.
No way?
Who they got at quarterback?
Why do you say
Mayo
no way? You just think
I
they're drafting Sanders? Is that what it is, or what?
I think they would. I don't think if they want to.
What if they trade down out of number 1 and stockpile picks because that roster could use some work still, and then they say, we'll just go veteran.
Well, that's why I think they might just keep Mason Rudolph and just use the picks to build the roster. You
better like the quarterback draft class next year if you're staying with Mason Rudolph.
Along the point of why would you pay or why would you draft a quarterback that you don't think has a team? Regardless, just keep Mason Rudolph on a small contract. Suck again, which would be bad. It would stink. It would be dumb. They get the new stadium. They draft the quarterback. They already have a roster that is ready to win right away.
So the roster, I'm all for them. The idea of, hey, should they trade back if they believe Sanders isn't that guy in their opinion? Although I think they should draft a quarterback. But if that's fine, they can trade back. But you still have to go and get a different quarterback than Mason Rudolph. You have a coach in his second year. He knows he's fired if they bail.
And then they'll have a brand new Wilson or something.
They'll have a brand new general manager as well. We know that as a fact. And they don't have to draft a quarterback, but they cannot have Mason Rudolph as their starter in week 1 of 2024.
Justin Fields would be more respectable. Or Russell Wilson.
It goes into planning the whole thing out, though. I think if going into this year, they know our goal during the draft, we're going to trade back. We're going to build out the roster. Yeah. We're not going to pay Sam Darnold more money than we should pay him, which is probably going to happen from somebody, whether it's the Raiders or the Steelers.
It doesn't have to be Darnold.
We're going to stick with somebody. Maybe it's Mason Rudolph because he knows Brian Callahan's system, and they stink. But again, I think you would rather, if you really think that you can, if you really believe in the building the roster, and then if you hit on the right quarterback, Tennessee can all of a sudden. This is the thing, though. Let's say they play Mason Rudolph. Let's say they trade back, they stockpile picks, and they draft a bunch of guys around. Let's say they draft Drew Aller next year, or Cade Klubnik, or Avery Johnson, and he's really good. All of a sudden, Tennessee is in prime position to win that division for maybe or be right there with Houston for a long time. It's going to be those two and nobody else. So while you don't want to jump the gun, I think, and be wrong and then set your franchise back again because you took the quarterback that didn't work out when you could have used it on another pick that would have helped another quarterback maybe down the line. But that might be planning with the coaches, though. Like if they expect Brian Callahan to win in year 2, then tough luck. He might have to draft the quarterback. And I'm sure Borgonzi, they're asking him about this in the interviews as well. What's your plan for the offseason? What do you think we should do?
I guarantee he's not saying just lose.
Well, I know they're not trying to lose, but
if you start Mason Rudolph, you are trying to lose.
They're not trying to lose, but why would you waste money paying Mason Rudolph when you can just pay? Or why would you waste Sam Darnold money?
It doesn't have to be Darnold. I guess that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be Darnold on a 3-year deal. That's a fair point.
That's why I said it could be Russ.
It can be anybody, literally anybody else. Why Mason Rudolph?
I think. No, hang on. Would you take Russell over?
Yes.
You would take Russell Wilson over Mason Rudolph right now.
I know we make jokes about Russell Wilson, but come on now. The guy's Russell Wilson is still a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph, man. Mason Rudolph is fun. Mason Rudolph is fun around Christmas time because his last name is Rudolph. That's about it.
I get to win one bet a year.
We need to compare. We need to compare stats because I think Mason Rudolph is as good of a quarterback as Russell Wilson is right now.
Ain't no way. I'm not looking at the stats right now, but ain't no way. I'll look it up in the break.
Somebody said, who wins the division first, the Bengals or the Titans? Probably the Titans. In all honesty. AFC North is actually a tough division, boys.
Yeah, that South isn't. I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Yeah, we don't do QB win-loss stats, but I will point out that this year Mason Rudolph was 1-4. I think the Titans know what they have in Mason Rudolph, and it's nothing. 9 touchdowns, 9 picks.
And how many games?
1-4.
Okay. 5 games.
He played in 8 games, though.
It would be nice if he had the Steelers' defense.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
I'm just saying, that record might be a little bit different.
Mason Rudolph. Can we make a bet right now? You want to make a bet?
What, Sam Darnold or
No. You said Mason Rudolph will be the starter week 1?
I said, why not go to him? I'm not saying he is going to be the starter.
Okay. All right.
That's fair.
Because again, that'd be my one quarterback against your 20.
Okay.
Carson Wentz.
If you wanted to make the bet, you were very confident that Mason Rudolph showed himself well enough that you think he should be the number one starter next year.
He is the same player as Russell Wilson is.
Okay. Up next, let's get to some college basketball. Missouri, they're in the tournament, guys. A win against number 5 Florida. Let's talk about that and how it relates to what's going on in Manhattan, Kansas as well.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Get ready to elevate your game this NFL playoff season with FanDuel, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat NFL same-game parlay for any game. Just place a 3-leg NFL same-game parlay, and you'll get bonus bets back if your bet doesn't win. Same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. So build out your own or choose from one of the popular SGPs pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. So what are you waiting for? Get your no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/Alex. That's FanDuel.com/Alex. FanDuel, an official sportsbook betting partner of the NFL, and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max wager, $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
MD Anderson Cancer Center is again ranked #1 in the nation for cancer care by U.S. News & World Report's Best Hospitals rankings. Our physicians treat more types of cancers in a day than many see in their whole career. This unmatched depth of expertise, combined with our groundbreaking discoveries, gives our patients access to the most innovative treatment options. Learn more at mdanderson.org.
At Main Street Credit Union, your success is our goal. Whether you're a financial rookie or a pro, we're here to help. If you're looking to pay down debt, improve your credit score, or buy a car, we'll be right there with you. We're dedicated to providing guidance, education, and essential resources to empower you on your journey toward financial success. We'll help you understand your financial options so even financial rookies will be on their way to reaching their goals. Go to mainstreetcu.org for more information.
It's cold outside, and the cupboard is bare. No worries. Let Hy-Vee do the shopping with Aisles Online. It's easy. Go to Hy-Vee.com, choose your store, select your items, and schedule a convenient pickup or delivery time. Right now, get $10 off any $125 Aisles Online purchase. What could be better? We do the shopping and deliver your groceries. You stay warm and save money. Download the Aisles Online app or go to Hy-Vee.com today.
As the Chiefs go for a three-peat in the big game, Hy-Vee's making my life easier. Hy-Vee's my one-stop shop for all game day needs. From official Chiefs apparel to fan favorites, including wings, ready-to-bake pizza, and freshly prepared dips like spinach artichoke, street corn, and buffalo chicken dip. Hy-Vee has Chiefs-themed cookies and sheet cakes and cupcakes as well. Plus, don't forget the Hy-Vee Wine and Spirits department for all of your game day beverages. Elevate your home gate at Hy-Vee, the official grocery sponsor of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most, like dinner with loved ones, letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at BlueKC.com.
Here is your Game of the Week, presented by Hyundai. The time has come where we'll crown a new champion of college football. Two history programs will face off as they look to claim the title of the first ever 12-team playoff champions. Will the team from the Buckeye State or the squad from South Bend bring home the hardware? Here's a riddle for you. What do yoga mats, a toothbrush, and a Hyundai have in common? I'll give you a moment. Time's up. If you guess they're all fun, well-designed, and super useful, you guessed wrong. The answer is you can order all those things on Amazon. And the best part, you won't even have to break down a car-sized Amazon box after, because you'll pick up your Hyundai at the dealer. Hyundai, now available on Amazon. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details. Limited availability. Pick up through participating Hyundai dealers in select markets. Now you can buy a new Hyundai at Amazon. Visit HyundaiUSA.com for more details.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check your sunroof is closed first before driving through the car wash.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, no. Wait, whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Well, good morning, kiddo. I love that you're home from college. I've missed you.
Still taking your Nature-Made vitamins?
Every day. A multivitamin and a probiotic. You better be taking yours.
Still looking out for me, Mom.
I'll never stop.
Made to care for you every day. Nature-Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Find us in the vitamin aisle, based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
Chiefs coverage is brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction. ShamrockRoofer.com.
Hey folks, it's Karen from Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Thank you for making Shamrock Roofing one of the top 30 roofing companies in the nation. We're family owned and ready to help you with your roof today. Inspect, repair, replace. One call does it all at Shamrock Roofing. Visit ShamrockRoofer.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you on your home for KC Sports, 96.5 The Fan. Of course, you can watch the show on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, like and subscribe, and also on the Odyssey app.
That's right. Sorry, I moved my mic and I was
right
thinking it was
over
still
there?
off. And
You good?
I manhandled it a little. You know me, I'm usually pretty gentle. I just grab it from this little knob here. The engineers, who I know listen to the
They
show
love when
occasionally,
you do that.
I don't like to touch this part of the mic. I'm told not to touch this part of the mic. It can make things worse.
Everybody has their own style with that. We've given Dusty a hard
this
time.
one little knob here.
We've given Dusty a hard. It's a habit thing, right? People have a habit and stuff they do. Like, I don't want to do it because the mic is on, but he will grab the entire microphone at times.
That's a crazy thing to do.
Yeah, it's everybody has their own thing. It's what
James Brown singing into that thing. You have to hold the whole mic.
You don't. It's you don't have to. You can adjust it multiple ways. So anyway.
You know me, I'm usually pretty gentle. I just grab it from this little knob here. That's an unfortunate cut.
Text line's picking up on that pretty
Sometimes
quick.
I say stuff, and it's not like I don't say it to make it.
Response. We know you like to do that. Right afterwards. I should have cut that.
You should. That
inclusion does make it pretty good.
We'll get to the random question of the day here in about 12 minutes or so. But I want to talk about some college hoops for just a brief period of time, and we'll get right back to the NFL, I promise. But How about the Missouri Tigers right now, man? They come up with a huge win last night in Gainesville against number 5 Florida. This now gets them off to their best start since they've joined the SEC. Did you know that? 3-1. Like, I know it's not like it's not like they're 9-0, but 3-1. That's their best start in SEC play they've had since joining the conference. This is their biggest win in conference play since they've joined the SEC. Dennis Gates didn't win a single conference game a year ago, and now he has a team that's going to be ranked next week very easily.
He's winning road conference games against top 5 opponents.
It's really impressive how he's built the roster because I think you can look at all 3 locals and some of the struggles they're having via transfer portal or just signing the normal way of recruiting right out of high school. Dennis Gates, majority of that roster are freshmen. You know, they're guys, I'm not saying they didn't have a single transfer portal guy, but most of it has been done through classic recruiting. And they can actually rebound the basketball this year. And it's been really impressive to watch. We know they beat Kansas earlier on in the season, and he's going to get them back in the tournament now. And then you look in like Manhattan, Kansas, for example, where we know in year 1 the transfer portal was everything for Jerome Tang. It's why they went on the run. And this year they went all in on the portal. He went around and said, give me money basically and I'll make it happen. And they're a 7-9 basketball team, and the portal has backfired. And so it's interesting how every program is going to have to figure out what's that right balance of building it out. And this year for Dennis Gates, going back the route of classic recruiting out of high school has worked.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to make college sports kind of interesting for a while is in college football, I've told you, I would never recruit a quarterback. I would just go find the Carson Beck, or if Quinn Ewers had come back, or in Ohio State's case, Will Howard, who has a chance to play for a national championship. I'd find someone like that. But in the college basketball, and Bill Self's best teams were always the teams that he took his freshmen, and he had 3 of the starting 5 from when they were 18 years old, and now they're all juniors or seniors and a part of his team. And he's been trying to build through the transfer portal because that's where the sport has gone. As a result of that, I don't think his teams have been nearly as good. Like, it's hard to undersell this win for Missouri. In Missouri basketball's entire program history, they have 4 road wins against top 5 opponents. That is, I mean, we're talking about a very small number of times Missouri travels on the road, faces a top 5 opponent, and comes out with the win. So that is a huge win. The biggest, obviously, for Dennis Gates in his entire program's history. As a matter of fact, it's bigger, that of the Kansas one. 2 of his biggest wins, it's bigger than the first-round win for Missouri in the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. Because had this season gone anywhere close to last season, he was going to get fired. His ass was going to be on the street. Now Dennis Gates looks like he might have 4 or 5 year run, maybe more, for a chance, because that's the way it works. When you make the tournament 2 times out of 3 years in Missouri, you were doing it right. I cannot explain what happened last year. I have no idea how they were so miserably bad last year. But if he's going to get back to the tournament, he's got wins against Kansas and Florida. I mean,
doing it in a year where the SEC is really, really good too. I think that's what I would add to the conversation about the 3-1 start in conference play is this is not a down year for the SEC by any means. Quite the opposite. It is an unbelievable year for the SEC and the talent that exists in that conference this year. They just beat one of those teams, and that is Florida. So really impressive. Complete opposite going on in Manhattan. They lost to Texas Tech last night to drop to 7-9 on the season, and it's going to be a long one, it looks like, for Kansas State when it comes to men's basketball this year. And we've discussed the buyout situation. There's really no way out of it. This thing, you just got to hope, even if you're down on Jerome Tang right now, you got to hope he can figure it out next year and go a different path through recruiting. I don't know if he's going to get the same resources through the portal that he got this year because he didn't do anything with it. Didn't work out.
I don't know what, like if I were a donor, I'd be like, because here's the crazy thing about NIL now. It's like before, like you got him there, and I understand, but like now I'm directly paying this person. So I gave you $6 million, and what you did was you lit it on fire. you just flushed it down the drain. Like I wouldn't be real tempted.
Yeah, Coleman Hawkins has actually played all right. It's just the rest of the group has been a disaster. But actually, Coleman Hawkins has been all right.
Yeah, no, he has. But I just meant like overall, we're not getting our value out of it. This is also just I genuinely think there might be a greater ebb and flow coming to college basketball because there's so much movement. I think team building is harder. Not just because you have to recruit these players or play these players. It's that you are forced over the course of a calendar year to figure out how to get all of these mismatched. It's like somebody handing you a pile of 10 Legos and then you're supposed to guess how it's supposed to be made. No instructions, no help on how you do it, and you're just supposed to assume as you're collecting these random spare parts throughout the year, either as 18-year-old kids or 21-year-old transfers, and you're supposed to always know that they're going to fit together. It's tough. I think it's why you see more years like, and Kansas ranked 9th in the country.
Yeah, they got Iowa State tonight.
So they win this game, and then nobody's even talking about the fact that it seems like...
Yeah, they're 6.5-point dogs tonight. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. But you're right. I mean, like Missouri, this year's a good balance. They've got, I'm taking a look at just what the roster looks like. It's actually a fairly balanced roster. There's definitely more freshmen, and they attacked it in that regard. But it's got a mix. It's got a balance. It's not just relying on transfer portal guys.
No. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed by what Dennis Gates has done. A player, a coach that I would have thought a year ago was, again, going to be out of the job. But it's the same thing, though. Like, if you did this a year apart, last year Kansas State fans were ready to – they didn't want Jerome – they were worried Jerome Tang was going to go to Arkansas. They were happy to pay him the additional money because they didn't want him to go to Arkansas. They were happy with the job he was doing, and they wanted him around for a while. A year ago, they wanted drawn and quartered for Dennis Gates. They wanted his ass out of the building. They wanted him fired, gone, long gone, out of the building. And now if I ask Missouri fans, where are you on Dennis Gates, it's a very different vibe. So some of this might just be like, cool it on the reaction. If Jerome Tang has a bad year, give him another year and find out if this is a consistent problem with the new NIL and the portal and he's not identifying talent well,
the difference
or
would
if it's
be
a longer-term issue.
Some would say, it wasn't winless conference bad last year or this year for Jerome Tang. It was 2 years in a row, though, were massive disappointment, and this year it's getting worse. That would be the only issue I think K-State fans would have with that. So we'll see. Looks like 2 of the locals are going to be in the NCAA tournament this year.
Do you think K-State even gets to the NIT? I mean, at the rate they're going, no. At the rate they're going, no.
At the rate they're going, they're going to be a 12 or 13 win team.
7 and 9. No.
I still think they have enough talent that they could finish 15, 16 wins, but the way they're playing right now would not indicate that they're going to do that. So if you made me guess, Drew, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule
to make the NIT. They also it's not even 15 or 16. They'd have to go like 19 and 14 or 20 and 13 or something like that.
They are playing postseason basketball.
And look, I get it. Like from the 918, it said Tang was never going to Arkansas.
I
Probably
agree.
not.
His agent did some masterful work.
But that's how the college in particular works this way. Because a college coach can leave if you just pay him. Like I can't just because otherwise it would happen in the NFL all the time. If somebody could just pay $10 million to get Sean McVay, somebody else would have paid $10 million and paid Sean McVay a bunch of money. Okay, that would have already happened in college. This is part of where I wanted the players to have the ultimate freedom that they do have now in college basketball and college football. If you don't want players to have ultimate freedom and they should only get to transfer once or any of these other things, well, then you should make it so college basketball coaches can't just leave unless they're a free agent like every other professional sport.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but that is exactly why buyouts do exist, though.
Sure.
I mean, that's their way of trying to prevent. It's a barrier,
but it's not, if you're McVay, there's no buyout. If you're in a contract, you can't leave here. I'm sorry. You're our coach.
I wonder, that actually brings up an interesting point. I don't know if it would get there in college, real quick, but college basketball, college football. If contracts are introduced and you want somebody to transfer, maybe it's just not transferring anymore. It's buyouts. Like, it's not trades.
Yeah.
There's no
That's somebody
trades.
who was it?
There's
Somebody
no nothing.
suggested that.
But there actually are
the
contract
university trading money would be fun.
Yeah, there's actually buyouts. Like when you sign to a team, you're there, but a team can buy you out and bring you over if you're interested or whatever the case is. But there's not, you're detaching yourself from this program and then you're a free agent. It's just, you're always attached to this program until you're bought out and you go somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know if it was with Herbstreit or Danny Cannell. Somebody suggested that very thing. I don't know, back in mid-December when all the portal stuff was heating up more, and they brought up that idea, and I don't think it's a terrible one about the idea of where universities would have to take care of that financially. Then you would really start seeing everything cut down in terms of the transfer portal.
Yeah, they wouldn't be going after as many players, or they'd go after fewer. It's not to say it never exists, but it would certainly exist less. The question is, where does that money go? You pay the buyout. Does it go to university, or does it go directly to the players who are still on the roster?
It probably goes back into the NIL fund.
You would think, yes, back into the NIL fund.
You got to figure out a way, because the whole thing is college basketball players need collective bargaining. They need 51 or 49% or whatever other league gets. They need a certain portion of the profit like everyone else gets.
And also theoretically speaking, when you're picking your school as well, you also have to, the high school player would have to think a whole lot more about where they're going because they're attached to that contract more than just, I can just go here and bounce after a year and go somewhere else. I think there was somebody that said There's a high school player said they were going to commit to University of Louisiana Monroe and then bounce after 1 year. This kid's in high school, by the way. He said he's going to go to UNO Monroe, play 1 year, transfer to a bigger school. He's already laid out his whole plan.
He's just saying the quiet part out loud. That's what. That's what
everyone else.
That's what he just saying it out loud.
It might not be that, and it's not going to be that. It might not be that easy with contract stuff. Just because schools and managing,
but his buyout at UN Monroe is probably $500,000.
A lot of this is still going to change. I mean, I think we all know there's going to be some, whether it comes at the federal level or otherwise. Like, there's going to be. We already are seeing that basically you're going to have like this $20 million cap, if you will, with football programs. Like, it's going to look a lot different. I think there will be more barriers while still allowing the student athletes to earn money. I think there will be some consolidation with how this thing goes instead of it being a state by state issue.
Briefly, since we're talking about this, did you see Huff, the college head coach, said that he was running into more players complaining about their rating in the college football playoff game than the NIL money they were getting?
So there's like
what's he supposed to do?
There's a coaches conference going on, and they're voting on potentially like changing the portal window and things like that. But one of the things that came up was what you just said, which is that it's not just so much why is he getting more NIL money? He's like, why is his college football video game rating higher than mine? And they're unhappy about that. That's just
I can't do anything about that as a coach. By the way, I don't own EA.
It's hilarious, honestly, but it just tells you of just the different atmosphere that college football is today than it was 20 years
Xavier
ago.
Worthy's not going to Andy Reid. Hey, Andy, I've been turning up the last few weeks. How come my Madden rating still what it
I think
is right
NFL
now?
players care sometimes.
NFL players love their Madden rating. They get the whole,
Correct, but they're complaining to... They're adding Madden on social media. They're not saying, hey, Andy Reid, let me step into your office. Let me take 10 minutes of your time to complain about this.
Yeah. No, they've said things public. I don't think it's crazy that people care
Kirby
about it.
Smart calling up Electronic Arts, who makes the game, and is like, "Hey, I got this guy that is thinking about transferring, but if I can, can you increase his speed rating? It's going to make him just happier."
That also is the dumbest reason to transfer. If you leave because your rating in a video game is wrong, that is a really sad reason.
No, but I'll tell you right now, you got to find any edge you can find in college football. And if I thought that this player would stay with me longer if I could get that if I showed him some juice. He's on my campus, maybe he's a portal guy next year, and I show him that I can get his overall 77 to 82 by making a couple of phone calls. I'm like, ooh, coach, you got me to 82? You're like, yeah.
By that standard.
I did. But I would try. I would try if I were a college coach.
By that standard, nobody should have left Florida State and nobody should have left Liberty at all. Those are the two schools in the game. Florida State's like a 90 overall in the game. And we know how their season went. Oh, yeah.
Still? They don't update those? Online play, at least?
They do, but they're still...
Too good?
They're still up there.
Oh, man, that's just crazy.
DJ Uyunglele to start the season was like an 89 or an 88 or something along those lines. Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
Man, I had not played that college football game until we played it in the tournament, and I was still playing on a system I wasn't used to playing to. I was awful.
I haven't played it in a while. It's probably been 2 months.
I don't think anybody was worse than me, actually, in that tournament.
You scored 0 points?
Yes.
No, that is not good.
You can't really do worse.
I also picked the Auburn Tigers, which wasn't that great of an idea in retrospect.
All right, let's get to it.
Random question.
For you, Gold. For you, Drew, over in the text line, 913-586-7965. Of course, you can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. We live stream the show 4 hours every single day. The other shows live stream as well. So like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do to make sure you get your 96.5 The Fan content. Question I have for you today is regarding my nephew who just bought a new house. His first one, he's 25.
Okay, I was about to say.
My nephew's 25 years old.
Because my nephews are, 10 and 7 and 3
sister,
or whatever. So.
My sister had a kid young.
All right.
So my sister, who is the exact same age as me, she's 41, I'm 40. I have a 25-year-old nephew. So you reverse engineer the math. 26?
Yeah.
Point is, he just bought his first house. And the question I have for you is related to that. We still doing housewarming gifts? I don't think I've ever bought anyone a housewarming gift in my life. I feel like he's going to invite us to his new place at some point, at which time I will feel obligated to make that decision. So my question is, are we doing that? Is that a thing that happens? Are housewarming gifts still a thing? And if so, what do you get?
That's a good question. I have it my sister just moved in. One of my sisters just moved into a new house. I mean, if you're asking, did I get them anything? No.
Okay, see, that's why I'm asking.
But I don't know. But I don't know if that's
got a candle.
I don't know if I should have. That was not something that ever came up. But also, they moved in around the holiday time, so everybody's already. We between holidays and birthday parties. December through early January is just full of birthdays and holidays. So there's plenty of gift exchange going on already.
The legendary lawyer over on Twitch says wine or whiskey. It's super easy.
Wine's probably a good one. Just a bottle of wine.
Why not says yes. Family's got to hook you up. I don't know. I mean, why? Like just a bottle, like a candle, like a nice candle. But I don't want to determine what other scents people want to smell, I feels like it's kind of bold to buy candles for people.
You're
Some
saying
people
get a
don't.
gift card to Bath and Body
Maybe
Works
someone
or
doesn't
whatever?
like sandalwood. I don't want to make that determination what they want their new house to smell like.
Isn't it different too? Like, if let's say your kids are grown up, Cody, down the road, and your daughter moves, her and her future husband or whatever buy their first
Gotta
house.
get your kids' ass.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's different if it's your son or daughter.
But I've known him. I know. I don't
know.
Like we grew up together a little bit.
A lot of people saying just good bottle of liquor. Somebody said Home Depot or Lowe's gift cards.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a
They're
good
going to
one.
need stuff.
That's a good one.
Someone says Crate and Barrel. There'll be something for their house. I mean,
Crate and Barrel. I mean, though, $50 is only going to go so far.
True. You got some nice stuff,
at
though.
Lowe's,
Some
you might
nice
be able to
stuff.
get some spackle and paint and stuff.
Yeah.
Someone says my buddy got me a bottle of whiskey, but I can't. It feels kind of rude to get him she doesn't drink whiskey. I know that is a fact.
Well, yeah, then don't get them that.
So I can't get them a bottle of whiskey. I got to get whiskey and wine.
They
if
like
they're
wine?
different
Just get a bottle of wine. A nice bottle of wine for both of them.
I've seen her drink wine, so she must like it. Okay. I don't think she's like a big wine drinker, but I think she's trying to get into it. You want to know the truth?
Mm-hmm. Does he have does he have a Traeger or a Big Green Egg? You can buy an accessory for it because some of those Big Green Egg accessories are pretty pricey, but it would be a nice gift.
My dad just texted. He said yes, but he also sells houses for a living. So
your dad would know. He would know.
That's true. Actually, that's an expert on the matter. Mm-hmm. He says yes. You've got to do it. I will say, is there a time limit? Say I'm not invited to the new house in the first 6 months they live there. If you've lived there 6 months, I haven't been invited to the new place. No deal. You got to invite me over to get this gift. What? 6 months? There's got to be a drop dead.
I will say it would be. I don't know if it'd be funnier if that happened or if you got invited to the house and then never got invited again because they just wanted a gift.
I will say when I sold my house, I left a gift. I left.
People do that.
I left some champagne.
Oh yeah.
Really,
nice.
Essentially, I'm just paying for it with their money.
We don't need to bring that back up again. The last time you brought that up, you were friends on Facebook with the person that bought your house. You drove by the house a few times while she was there.
That's just because you've never left your childhood home. It was weird. Yeah, it's normal behavior.
I mean, I have left my childhood home, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but you can still visit it. You literally stayed there last weekend. You can see it whenever you want.
That was
you broke a toilet at it.
I did. Yeah.
Someone says Target gift card, candle warmer, Walmart gift card, any of the stuff that you're going to need house stuff. Seems like gift card. This might be one of those. I don't give gift cards as gifts very often. This feels like a safe one. Lowe's, Home Depot.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with it, right?
Yeah. Everyone just bottle of wine.
Someone says Cody Google. They're like, stop using the random question for your.
This is going to help Alex. His sister just bought a house. He didn't even know he was supposed to buy something. He should have had a bottle of wine in tow.
Because like I said, they moved in right around the holidays, and we got three birthdays in our family, all within like a 2-week period, plus Hanukkah and everything. So yeah, man, there's already plenty of gift buying and exchanging going on.
So you're saying if they bought it in June,
absolutely,
they were more likely to get something from you.
Totally,
they made a poor month buy.
That's when the house was done being built. It is what it is. Anyway, that's the random question of the day. All right, we'll get to the 1 o'clock hour. Let's talk more about this Chiefs-Texans matchup. The one player, I think it's obvious, but the one player that really stands out that could be problematic against the Chiefs.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
Hey, it's Gold, and I've been telling you guys about my friends at Max Motors, and there's not a better time to go say hello to my friends down there than right now. We just got done with this winter storm, and if you have a 4x4 vehicle, you know how much easier it was to navigate the last couple of days, and if you don't, you're probably thinking, what would that be like? Well, at Max Motors, they have every new 2024 Ram 1500 in stock right now, 25% off MSRP. They got 4x4 options available in that 2024 Ram 1500. And here's where Max Motors is different. And they showed me this when I was out there as well. And that is explaining the total cost of ownership, not just what that monthly payment is going to be. So if you've been thinking about a brand new vehicle, there is no better place to go than Max Motors. And they're going to take care of you with the best financing options available and give you the max trade-in values in the Midwest. So take advantage of every new 2024 Ram 1500 in stock. That's 25% off MSRP. Must finance with dealer lender. Offer expires 2/3/25. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car. MaxMotors.com.
Your attention is precious. Pulled in a million directions for a million different reasons. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City works hard to make sure your health insurance isn't one of the many things distracting you from what's important. By making healthcare easier to navigate, we help keep your focus on the moments that matter most. Like dinner with loved ones. Letting you focus on you. That's the benefit of Blue. Learn more at BlueKC.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-518-3899. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-518-3899. That's 800-518-3899. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Get ready for an epic night of Ultimate Fighting Championship at Twin Peaks on Saturday, January 18th. Don't miss out on the best seats in the house and the Ultimate Fight Night experience. Grab your fight buddies and get ready for a knockout night.
Real stories with Hellsberg.
After we met and we started dating, Nancy and I lived 150 miles apart, and I would drive my old jalopy car, and it was roughly a 3-hour distance. It took 3 years I drove across that state back and forth dating her every weekend.
Persistence.
And I would have never stopped. I had a lot of energy back then. 36 years ago.
At Hellsberg, find the engagement ring worthy of your story. Designed with the love, care, and craft it deserves. Visit a Hellsberg store or Hellsberg.com.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of Kansas City. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of Kansas City. Enter now at overheaddoorkc.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorkc.com.
Hey guys, it's Cody Tapp, and it's a new year, so time to keep that promise of getting your testosterone levels checked. If you're lacking energy, muscle mass, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, and nobody matches the experts at the Low T Center. People have different levels, so don't settle for the standard dosage. Get a personalized treatment plan at the Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
GiveMeTheVin.com. Our expert buying team knows exotics, luxury cars, classics, diesels, lifted stuff, hot rods, inside and out. We buy them at GiveMeTheVin.com. It's a one-stop shop to get into a pool of absolute experts. Join my YouTube channel, John Clay Wolf. GiveMeTheVin.com. They don't call me America's best car buyer for nothing.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
Looking for a career that soars above the rest? Join the Missouri Air National Guard St. Joseph. Serve your community and country while gaining cutting-edge training, tuition assistance, and bonuses up to $50,000. From engineering and aviation to cybersecurity and healthcare, there's a place for you. Work part-time, earn full-time benefits, and build a future you can be proud of. Be more, do more. Join something bigger. Start your journey with the Missouri Air National Guard in St. Joseph. Go to ang.com/MO.
Damon John here, the People Shark. I want to share a secret that's changing people's lives. There's a company called National Debt Relief that can help you get out of debt faster than you ever thought possible, like 12 to 48 months from now. With National Debt Relief, you can cut your minimum credit card payments by 50% and pay as little as $250 a month. Imagine, instead of paying multiple high interest payments every month, you can make one low monthly program payment, plus you can get approved in just a few minutes. They've helped hundreds of thousands of people just like you. Trust me when I tell you, National Debt Relief's got your back and can help you get back on track.
To learn how you can reduce your credit card debt and become debt-free, call 800-467-7711. 800-467-7711. Again, that's 800-467-7711.
Don't wait, apply today.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
Divisional round coverage of the Chiefs and Texans on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer partner of your Kansas City Chiefs. You're listening to the all-new 96.5 The Fan, your home for Kansas City sports. KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
You know you get wide variety of music on this show. We went on 12. I can't remember what you bumped back in at 12:30, but it was polar opposite of
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, and then we get to Eminem. Here we go. You know, why not? 1 o'clock hour on a Wednesday. Hope everybody's having a good day.
I was debating what song. I was like, you know what?
That's fine. It's all good, man. Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon producing the show. You guys can hit us up on the Jays Southland Tow Service text line, 913-586-7965. Of course, we'll get to the biggest difference, I think, that has happened the last couple weeks with this Texans team. But I think it's very obvious if we were to ask who potentially could wreck this thing to the point where the Texans win. You might think, oh, well, C.J. Stroud, he could just go off. That's definitely a possibility. It's a quarterback. I think more likely it's what we've discussed about the left tackle spot, and therefore who's going to be opposite those tackles throughout the game, and that's Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. I know Stingley's a great corner. I'm not as worried about their corners. I'm more worried, of course, about Will Anderson. He's a game wrecker. That's the easy answer to this whole thing, right?
I think so. I mean, you could say Danielle Hunter. I don't think Derek Stingley Jr. is out of the question, or Nico Collins is out of the question. Nico Collins still provides, depending on the health of Jalen Hurts, a matchup that the Chiefs have not guarded well this year. Like, especially in the absence of Jalen Watson. Especially in the absence of Jalen Watson. They had a really, really, really hard time with big physical wide receivers. You might have heard Trent McDuffie talk about Nico Collins in his press conference yesterday, in which he said, I call those kind of guys complete receivers. They run routes, they catch with their hands, they are tough to bring down. They kind of do everything. If you made me single to one player, yeah, probably Will Anderson. He's pretty good. It'd be him or the combination of him and Danielle Hunter that would probably be at the top of my list. Because that's the part, coupled with the Chiefs' bad offensive line play for a majority of this year, where you see things completely imploding. Nico Collins could have 120 yards, and I still think the Chiefs win.
Exactly.
If Will Anderson's got a couple of sacks and they're not stopping Danielle Hunter, I might feel very different about this game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like C.J. Stroud could definitely have a great game. I just don't know if that's how they win, right? Like C.J. Stroud against this Chiefs defense, what is the stat line look like if he goes and has a great game? And is that good enough to actually win? When the Texans, throughout this season, last week they had defensive turnovers. That's why their point total got up there against the Chargers. They won comfortably. It wasn't because C.J. Stroud and the offense was just lighting them up throughout. No, it was the defense of the Texans completely shut out 4 interceptions against Justin Herbert. So it's all about the defense. Yeah, Nico Collins is a very tough matchup. I think the Chiefs will have to be very careful with that. But I'm not worried about C.J. Stroud throwing for 380 and 4 touchdowns. Okay, I have no reason to believe that that's happening in this year's Texans team. A year ago, maybe. Not this year's, and this Chiefs defense, let's be real. It's just not, that is not a good offensive line for the Texans. So I do believe Amenahue and Chris Jones and Karlaftis will once again get after him. It's all about whether or not the Texans defense can do the same to Mahomes. Can Danielle Hunter make Mahomes have to get the ball out even quicker? than he has, and therefore it causes problems down the field, and all of a sudden he throws a pick because he makes a bad decision, something he hasn't done in a while. Like, it's defensive related. That's the formula. If you're trying to put together what it looks like for the Texans to upset the Chiefs, it has to be a dominant defensive day for the Texans. It's not about C.J. Stroud to me.
C.J. Stroud has won playoff games in each of the last 2 years, so I don't think he's a non-performer, or at least his team's not a non-performer in the playoffs. I think a lot of this kind of goes from the difference between what I will allow your ceiling to be when I've never seen you play a single other down in the NFL. So last year's a rookie. He throws for 4,000 yards, a rookie record. It's like 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns, right up there for one of the single best rookie seasons ever. This year, he put up, they're not even like that far apart in stats, 3,700 yards, 20 touchdowns versus 23. Threw a lot more interceptions, 12 interceptions this year versus 5 last year. But it is not a dramatically different year. But I didn't see the uptick. And if you'd asked me last year, do I fear C.J. Stroud, a rookie quarterback, coming to Arrowhead to take over a game? No. And so
the Texans were more dangerous last year, though.
Yeah, they were. And now I'm in a second year, and the person who picked on them the most in the first game was Tank Dell. And Tank Dell's not even in this game. He only made it through half of the last game before, obviously, that very horrid injury took place and ended his season. So I think it's on the defensive side. If you made me say the Texans win if, because that's really what we're asking when we say which player. The Texans win if Will Anderson completely takes over the game. I think the answer has to come on the defensive line, and largely because of what we've discussed. What if it's DJ Humphries? What if it's DJ Humphries at left tackle and Will Anderson tees off? And by the time they bring in Joe Thuney, there's not enough time to save it. And if they get into that position, well then, yeah, the Chiefs could have a real problem on Saturday afternoon at, 3:30? Is that what time the game is?
Yeah, right here, 96.5 The Fan.
You're home for Chiefs football and Royals baseball. You're home for Kansas City sports, as I'm told. At least when we initially, are we still going with that?
We are.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
What, you think that just ended? You just
Dude,
think
it's like
over?
fan club, you know?
You think
Maybe
it's
they
over?
changed. Maybe they,
That is definitely our station's
Maybe they heard a tagline and they
branding.
were like, let's hear it one more time, just to be sure. It appears we're sticking with it.
We are.
Okay.
Yes. We are.
Drew, hold on. Okay, he says
Yes.
we're sticking with it.
Yes.
I'm pretending like I'm talking to somebody behind closed doors. Anyway, not for those who are not watching on the camera. I just think it's obviously Will Anderson. I think that's the choice of the one guy who I think can completely take over a game. Can I toss in one little sneaky pick?
All right, let me hear it.
Because the Chiefs have not been beaten in this way, so it seems incredibly unlikely, but if it did happen, you'd know the game was going south. Joe Mixon. It's the only play. I only mention him
He's
because
had a great year.
if he had a really good game against Kansas City, it's going south. I don't foresee that because they've been really good against backs. But that's one player that if it was going that kind of way for them and Mixon was just having a day, that's a problem.
He's been great this year for them. I mean, there's no denying that. He was a 1,000-yard back for them. If without him, considering all the injuries, I wonder where this Texans team would be, honestly. When there was plenty of weeks where C.J. Stroud really was struggling, the O-line struggled, and Nico Collins was out earlier on in the year. If it wasn't for Mixon, yeah. Now, if you're wondering, against the Chiefs in the earlier loss a couple weeks ago, 14 carries, 57 yards. We know the Chiefs' track record against backs has been phenomenal this entire year.
Better in the postseason.
Last week against the Chargers, 25 carries, 106, but the Baltimore game, he had 9 carries for 26 yards. The Miami game, he had 12 for 23, 14 for 22 against Tennessee. So there's still some duds in there as well, but he's had a really nice year. I would, to your point, be stunned if Mixon went off. That would mean something happened injury-wise on the defensive line. That's just not whether it's Pennell, Chris Jones, who's gotten better as a run-stuffing defensive lineman. That's typically not how we've described him, but he's been much better this year, and he's fresh, and it's playoff time, so I know the run-stuffing buy-in's going to be higher than it was probably in week 15, whatever the heck it was.
Other than
16.
Mahomes, who do you think Texans fans are answering the same question to? We can ask this of a Texan guest later in the week.
Yeah.
But who do you think? Do you think they're saying Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy,
They've had
Hollywood
offensive line
Brown?
problems,
Chris
so
Jones.
they've had a
bad
line
offensive
problems.
line.
It's Chris Jones. My guess would be what they would answer in Houston if it's not Mahomes, because the O-line has been really bad,
and he's a force.
really, really bad. And Chris Jones is one of the best defensive players in the league, and he has been able to either himself get the sack numbers. If not, then he's allowing Karlaftis or Menahue to eat. Maybe Chris Jones doesn't get a sack on Saturday. He might not, but Charles Minihew's probably getting one then, or Karlaftis is getting one, or Mike Dana. Like we've seen that play out this year. There's been some games where it feels like Chris Jones wasn't getting near the quarterback, and then you go back and you watch like, well, yeah, that's because there's two guys holding him down, maybe even actually holding him, as in should have been a penalty.
And Minihew's just walking past him because they just decided not to block him rather than quadruple team Chris Jones. You and I were having a conversation earlier, and I'm curious what your other fans' answers are. 913-586-7965. Who is the player that you think will go off in the playoffs for the Chiefs? Because I obviously have leaned towards Kelce the entire time we've done the show. It steered me well.
Yeah, you said he would never age. This year,
he did. It's tough because I think even he's openly admitted to.
But in the playoffs, does it matter?
Like, I was watching an episode of New Heights, and Will Ferrell was on. And Will Ferrell gave Travis Kelce a hard time because he said he didn't really dunk the ball over the goal post.
He didn't. That's
and
true.
he was like, man, I don't got the ups I used to. So
Tony got up a little higher on those dunks back in the day. That's true.
Yeah, but in fairness, Travis was a little bit further down
How about
the line.
that? Will Ferrell and LeBron James on their podcast last week. Jeez.
Wow. I mean, try to get some bigger guests.
That Cleveland connection.
Yes.
And Caitlin Clark. Try to get some bigger name people on your podcast. Why
But
don't you?
to your point, in the playoffs, it's different for Kelce.
I think Travis Kelce's getting ready to go off. I think you should all prepare mentally for playoff Travis Kelce again. It'll look like a rewind of the clock, turn back the clock, whatever phrase that the eventual broadcast crew goes with on Saturday. Who is the broadcast
Buck and
crew? Okay. Whatever Aikman decides to go with, looks like he's turning back the clock. It's coming on Saturday because Travis Kelce in the postseason is a different monster. And I think it's because of the speed of the game. I think it is the simple thing, and I don't think this is an old adage because it's not true. I think the idea that everything speeds up on you and you have to make decisions faster and teams who aren't used to it make decisions slower affects the people trying to guard Travis Kelce because he already knows what he's going to do. He's 2 steps ahead of you under normal circumstances, maybe 1 step ahead this year than you under normal circumstances. The playoffs kick up, and he beats you in that scenario. I think he's going to be 6 for 80 and a touchdown for the next 3 games, just like every other postseason.
A year ago, we saw what the time off meant. He was a Hall of Fame tight end again in the postseason. He was fresh. He knows what's on the line. He has a switch he individually can flip, not just the team. He's a big part of that, of course. So it would not stun me at all. In fact, almost an expectation to this point.
It'd be kind of weird if he didn't.
That he has a huge postseason. The other name, though, I would throw out, and it's because he hasn't played a ton in the postseason. There's motivation. He's a vet. He came here to get a ring. He still is very high on the list of players I would trust to make a play for this offense. I'm talking about DeAndre Hopkins. I know typically last month it's been 3-4 catches, 40 yards, something like that. I believe DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a massive postseason for this team. I think the snap count is going to all of a sudden increase significantly.
Therefore,
I would like to think if his snap count goes up, his targets will as well. And he's going to put up some more impressive numbers. I don't know if he'll be the leading receiver all postseason by any means. That could be Xavier Worthy based off of what he's been doing. But I believe DeAndre Hopkins, it would not stun me if we're sitting here over the next couple weeks, assuming they go on a run, and D-Hop ends up with a couple games where it's 80-plus receiving yards and a couple touchdowns, and we're like, wow, here we go, contested catches in the end zone.
What's the best game we've gotten out of DeAndre Hopkins this year?
Would have been
what was the one?
Not the Raiders game,
ones?
Like the second one? Oh no, Raiders. It was a Raiders.
It was a Raiders
for 90.
There you go. It was Raiders.
Was his best game of the season. He didn't get a touchdown in that. Or the Bucks. 8 for 86 and 2. That's probably the one.
That was the Bucks game then.
Bucks game. 8 for 86 and 2. So he's had 2 games in the time he's been here in Kansas City that you're describing. He's had 2 games like that. 4 for 90 and 6 for 86 with 2
And
scores.
look at the snap counts going down ever since those 2 games.
I know, and I'm just assuming it's because they were protecting him.
The pick, too.
Yeah. And Xavier Worthy started doing better. And the pick, I hope that they, I don't normally want teams to play that game between a 4th and a 5th round pick, but I guess it's still possible. What were you going to say, Drew?
So I don't know if, I wonder about Hollywood Brown, just in terms of his, because he's 100%, like he's 100% for the games that he played in, but now he's got more familiar. He's played a couple games. In those 2 games that he played against Houston and Pittsburgh, he had 8 targets and 7 targets, and he had 45, 46 yards in both of them. Not to say that he can go off necessarily, but I wonder if you might just have a game where, hey, they're going to key on Xavier Worthy a little bit more. Maybe this is the game that Travis kind of has a really good one because the DBs are so good with Lassiter and Stingley. But let's say they win. I don't know if I'd be totally shocked if they played Baltimore and Hollywood Brown had 8 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown or 2. I don't know if that's going off or if that's just really good production, but I think Hollywood Brown might be a guy to watch in this that hasn't been brought in.
We definitely saw right away why there was so much excitement in the offseason about what he could do. We didn't get to see it in much of the regular season, but the minute he stepped on the field this regular season, immediately like, wow, what could have been in a way if you're Hollywood Brown from his own statistical aspect of the season. What kind of numbers could he have put up? And it would not surprise me if he's a huge part of the offense. Yeah, I mean, I think it was very evident that against the Texans or Steelers, I mean, he was a pretty big focus for this offense.
I mean, it'll be easy for people to say, and look, we'll never know. We've already discussed this. It'll be easy for people to say, like, he was going to be a 1,000-yard guy, just based on what you've seen.
Yeah.
Now, I could just be like, I don't know, man, it's 3 games. But, you know.
But if he goes from the Houston game on in this postseason, if he's averaging 80-plus yards receiving in the postseason, coupled with what I saw, then I don't think it's a huge leap. We'll never have the answer. You're correct.
Yeah.
But
no, it's not a huge leap based on the 2-game sample size, but I'd like to see more to do it. I was gone.
They just spread the ball around so much, though. So we're trying to give answers on Kelce or Hopkins or Hollywood Brown.
And everyone just has 4 for 50.
They spread the ball around so much, and they're so difficult to match up with. That's not a problem either.
Somebody had sent me a text. I'm just now remembering this now that we're talking about Hollywood Brown. When I was gone last Thursday for family-related stuff, did Sean Barber say that Hollywood Brown was going to get $80 million?
Yes.
Was that the amount? It was like some
There was
number.
a whole money conversation around. That was
80?
a whole money conversation.
There was a.
He thought he was getting 80
There was
mil?
more beyond just Hollywood. But
It was an interesting day. I love Sean Barber filling in. It was a
hot take.
It was an interesting day. Yeah.
He's saying to trade Joe Burrow.
Happy late birthday, by the way. We didn't say it on air yesterday. Barber, the big 5-0.
Oh, happy birthday!
Oh, a big birthday milestone. Barber and I are exactly 10 years apart, huh?
There you go. Yes.
Well, he feels quite a bit younger than me. That can't be good for me. He just like.
It's all right. He told me last week that
youthful energy.
Last week I said, hey, I'm going to start slowly going to the gym. Just basic stuff. And he's like, "You're screwed." I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm like, thanks. And he said, well, because I should have started with the diet stuff first. He's like, you're already in trouble. I'm like, well, okay. Well, I already signed up for the gym.
He nitpicked your plan.
He said I should have called him for. He said I should have called him first and not signed up for a gym yet and done the. And he might be right. I don't know. And he said should have done the diet stuff for 4 months and then gone to the gym. I'm like, well, it's too late. I already signed up. I've gone twice now, basically.
For the reasons you're going, though, Gold, I don't.
That's 2 more times than last year.
For the reasons you're going, I don't think it was a problem. Barber thinks probably that you're really trying to get.
Well, I would love a personal
bit,
trainer and a chef as well. And let's go, baby.
I don't know
Let's
Barber
do
has a
it.
chef.
I'm not saying he does. I'm just saying in general, like, yeah, if I was like one of those actors that were trying to get ready for like a role where you're going to be shirtless the whole movie and their only job for 8 months is to get ripped.
Like Kumail Nanjiani?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes.
He's a great example of it. He looked like me, and then now he looks like a freaking G.I. Joe. So, yeah. Him.
If that was your only job, 24/7 was here's the food you're going to eat, and all you do all day is work out, and
it seems like I wouldn't enjoy it.
No, you might be miserable.
I mean, you'd also be getting paid a lot of money while you're doing it.
I'd have to be because I'm not doing it for fun.
I mean, these movies we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I do wonder. So, real quick, in regards to the conversation that we both had about both teams, like key players, we talked about Will Anderson, Daniel Hunter. I wonder, like, if Stingley or Lassiter are in that conversation of
they're good.
Who can go off. Like, if Stingley's having that sort of a game, maybe it's a combo. If both of those guys are locking down, because you mentioned, Cody, I believe it was, Samaje Perine was the second leading receiver in that game.
Yes, he was.
And Xavier Worthy was first. Say they do a better job at covering Xavier, and you don't get that game from D-Hop where you're like, oh, yeah, he's going off.
Then they have Hollywood Brown.
Kelce or Hollywood.
That's the thing. I think they're really tough to match
But I wonder if it's the both of them. Like, if they're having trouble finding guys getting open in general, Travis Kelce either has to go off or they're just wrecking the game, those guys single-handedly, if they're able to cover.
Here's the problem with, like, I fundamentally understand that the Houston Texans defense is playing better, but I also think it might be a mirage in the middle of the desert. Here's the points they have allowed to the winning teams that they have faced, right? So, again, I go, how many did they let up last week to the Chargers? I guess I'm not including that one. This is the regular season. They did really good against the Chargers. They let up 12 points to the Chargers.
4 turnovers.
They won what?
Second to last week of the season, they faced Baltimore and allowed 31. That's a winning team. They allowed 27 to Kansas City. Yeah, sure, they let up 20 to Jacksonville, or let up 27. They let up 32 to Tennessee. Detroit before that, 26. Like, sometimes this goes back to like what the Chargers have been. Currently what's happening with the Texans is you're falling in love with the names and not the defense. We all know Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Derek Singh. We know those are great NFL players. Their defense has not been good, despite that. It's not a good defense. It was in the bottom half of the NFL for a huge chunk of the season, and for the last month, their defense has been playing a lot better, but 2 of those games were against Miami and Tennessee, and they allowed 29 points a game between Kansas City and Baltimore. And they're coming off a game in which they look good, which is something we talked about on Monday that I think people misidentify all the time in the playoffs, which is the team who was getting ready to face Kansas City was always going to look kind of good. They just won a playoff game. Like, they don't come in there looking like they didn't win the game 3-2 in most scenarios. They usually come in looking good. Gold. Why? Because they just beat a team in the playoffs. But if you factor in the rest of the regular season, they won 3 of their last 6 games. They lost to Tennessee, Kansas City, and Baltimore. They beat Tennessee, Miami, and Jacksonville.
So you're saying it's a lot like Baltimore's defense, where they've improved a whole lot, but you look at the opponents that Baltimore's had. While they ranked number 1 in the league in multiple categories, it's not.
It's all
Theirs
still
is
about
even lighter.
It's all still about, to me, Will Anderson. Like, the corners can be great, but to me, the corners aren't wrecking the game. Not with this Chiefs offense. It's Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. Those are the only guys that can wreck the game for the Texans. And it doesn't.
Where Mahomes has no time to throw.
Stingley's an All-Pro and everything, and he's a great corner. But it's just I can't imagine him wrecking the game because. All right, you shut down Kelce, or you shut down, as we were talking about, Xavier Worthy. Okay, I have enough elsewhere
unless he's
to
forcing
attack
turnovers,
you. And to me, they're not forcing turnovers unless Mahomes is running for his life. So that it goes back to Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter for me. Like, how does Mahomes throw a pick to the secondary? It's because he's all of a sudden out of sorts, and it's because of the pressure that's getting to him. So we'll see.
It does feel like Derek Stingley's, and this is anybody, this is Trey McDuffie's problem there for a while when they weren't getting pressure either. It's really hard to play corner, even if you're a great corner, if there's no pass rush.
So somebody on the text line did mention that Al-Shaair was suspended for that game against the Chiefs, so he'll be back for them.
Linebacker helps him out in that area. That's true.
Suspended. I mean, my bigger concern is I don't like
dirty
when Chiefs play any play dirty. Yeah, he's got a history of dirty plays. I didn't like when they were in a game against Vontaze Burfict. I don't want somebody leaving injured.
Mahomes is going to be running up the sideline at some point in this game. It's playoff time.
Great. He's going to get a free 15, so just as long as he doesn't get hurt.
Yep.
I was going to say, just make sure he doesn't.
As long as he doesn't do what Osai did there for Cincinnati in that playoff game.
You remember that? Drew, do you remember that play? No, but like, do you remember? Do you remember that play and what happened after?
Sure, I remember the play. It still was not
definitely a penalty.
It's still not the most heartbreaking moment I've had as a Bengals fan before. Not even close.
Damn, well, what is?
Actually, it's not even in the Joe Burrow era.
Losing the Super Bowl.
No, it is not that one either.
Oh,
the game where they were. A.J. McCarron was playing for them. Andy Dalton got hurt. Andy Dalton was having an MVP season.
How much hope did you have with A.J. McCarron to begin with?
Hang on. They were beating the Pittsburgh Steelers with Big Ben. They had everybody. They had Antonio. They had everybody. They were up 15-13 in that game.
That sounds right.
And Vontaze Burfict hits Antonio Brown. But this is the thing. That was a penalty. Joey Porter walks onto the field as a head coach and is touching the referee. Pac-Man Jones is trying to get the ref's attention like, hey, he's on the field. He shouldn't be on the field. Flag's thrown. Everybody's like, oh, great. The flag's on Pac-Man Jones and not on Joey Porter and the Steelers. And they kick the field goal and they win the game. Most heartbroken I have ever been. And it's not close.
As you're just bringing up like weird things that have happened in games, I still think if it was a different coach, people gave this coach a hard time. But, we talk about Mike Tomlin. I still think it's wild. We've all just forgotten that this guy literally stuck his foot out in the middle of a punt return to stop. He got fined and suspended for it. But that is still, think about it.
Intrusive thought got him, dude.
You know how crazy that is?
It's just an intrusive thought got the better of Mike.
You know how crazy that is? The question is, in the Super Bowl, do you want your coach doing that to save your season, to save your team's title?
Catch it, yeah.
Well, no, they're going to catch it, but your coach is going to be suspended in the next season and everything like that. Like, would you risk that?
Yes.
Would you want your coach to risk it? If it was like, hey, your team's up 3, but it's clear he's taking this to the house and time's going to expire. You're going to lose on a walk-off, kickoff return for a touchdown.
Yes, I want him doing it.
And you want it, or a staff member to go out and trip.
I probably prefer it isn't Andy. He's had knee surgery and hip surgery. We don't need that.
You just need to bring the guy in from Georgia who ran into the ref or whatever.
That feels like Tobe's job. But he's got a good, strong leg. That's Dave Tobe job. Your job's to trip the guy.
Could you imagine this?
Special teams is special teams.
What would they do? Because I don't remember the exact suspension and fine for Tomlin. It was significant. But in a Super Bowl like that, what would they do? Would they ban that coach from the league? Would they just say, you're done? You're done.
Or would they eject him from the game
let's
itself?
Let's just say it went the way you said. So now instead they only have a chance to kick a field goal, they miss it and the other team wins. So by tripping this player, they have cheated into winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. I think they have to, in the Super Bowl, I think they have to ban the coach for life.
I think, not for life. I think like a show cause, 1 year.
1-year ban.
I think a 1-year ban.
But what do you do about the game? Like, you
can't assume the touchdown. You never. The NFL
assume the touchdown.
In any rule, you cannot just put points on the board. You can't. Even though we all know he would return, you can't put points on the board. That's not how that works.
He could drop the ball before the goal line.
Yeah, you cannot put points on the board.
Oh, that'd be so
can you?
Just the whole. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, honestly, I don't even.
There'd be people who were saying it was never a 3. I can't do this. I can't live in this hypothetical. It'd just be the worst.
If you're on the losing side of it,
take the Chiefs out of it. Any team. Any team in the Super Bowl.
Sick. I think a 1-year ban.
Up next, we'll get to what's trending. And then earlier today, our Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker joined us. We'll get his perspective on what's happening in college football with some transfer portal moves, as well as how he sees the Chiefs matching up against the Bills or the Ravens if they handle their business this weekend.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
All right, Missouri sports fans, I'll tell you again, I've got great news. Underdog is available to play in your state. Best place to cash in all your takes during the playoffs, but also some games going tonight. We got some local college hoops tonight. How about higher on 13.5 points for Zeke Mayo? I'm going to pair that up with higher than 16.5 points for Curtis Jones. I think they're going to score tonight between these two and give you a chance to win over 5 million happy players. $2 billion won. They make it easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances and make it easy to cash out by just tapping that Win Now button when you're ready to cash out. Find the ones you like, choose higher or lower, mix up sports, whatever makes you comfortable over at Underdog, because they have the chance platform. It's the only one that puts the power to cash to win in your hand, as I mentioned, where you can win now and cash out whenever you want. And with Underdog's double flex option, you don't even have to win all 3. You can put 3 together. Win 2, lose 1, and still win. They love the double flex option. I won on one of those last night. Gives you a couple of chances to say, well, I feel pretty good about this bet, but I want to, just in case one of these doesn't hit, I'm going to make sure that I'm covered over at Underdog. Underdog is the best play to play champs. Download the app, sign up with promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, and deposit now for up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code TAPP. TAPP. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. Hey guys, it's Cody and Alex to let you know that if you're looking for that new career, Centric is the place you want to go. Look, you've been sitting around in a job you don't like anymore, and you want to try something new. I get it. Who wouldn't want a job with better pay, better career advancement, and better opportunities?
So if you've been thinking of a new career, the new year is a great time to start. Classes start in the middle of January at Centric. Contact our friend Russ. Centric.com. That's CENTRIQ.com.
I'm Mitch Holtis, voice of the Chiefs. Everyone develops cataracts naturally as they get older. When your vision is affected by cataracts, you should see my doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein at Silverstein Eye Centers. Dr. Silverstein is a world-renowned cataract surgeon who performs life-changing laser-assisted cataract surgery with premium lens implants to correct your vision up close and far away. Trust my eye doctor, Dr. Steven Silverstein, Silverstein Eye Centers, 816-358-3600 to schedule an appointment.
Men, it's the new year, and for many of us, it's a time of deciding to make positive changes in our lives. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction and are tired of the frustration and embarrassment ED causes, you should call Heartland Men's Health today, because there probably isn't a better resolution you can make than to be done with ED. You see, ED doesn't just affect you, it can also affect your partner, even if they don't talk about it. But here's some great news. If you're like most guys, the treatments at Heartland Men's Health will give you back your sex life, because our protocols have success rates that work in well over 90% of cases. Seriously, you might even find you're performing like you haven't in years. So, make an appointment and get ED out of your life. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. That's heartlandmenshealth.com. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
At Jefferson's, our favorite day is game day, especially on Kansas City game day. We know our guys in red like to play down to the wire. and we're here for every second of it. Our ice-cold beers pair perfectly with a blocked field goal. Our double-dip wings taste even crispier when KC makes yet another game-changing play. It just tastes better when you're watching at a bar that's owned and operated locally. Join us on game day and every day at Jefferson's, 87th Street in Lackman in Lenexa and North Kansas City on Armour Road. Jefferson's, wings, burgers, oysters.
Rally House, shop every team in town. College and pro, come on, it's time to go.
It's playoffs time, KC. Rally House has the Chiefs gear you're looking for, including Chiefs official postseason gear and the latest styles fit for the kingdom.
Kansas, Missouri, Kansas State, Chiefs and Royals make KC great. Rally House, Rally House. It's your city, it's your house, it's the Rally House.
Gear up in-store and online at rallyhouse.com.
Hey, Chiefs Kingdom, as the official whiskey sponsor of the NFL, it's not a kickoff without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. And that's why we've built the Crown Royal Rig, an absurdly awesome 18-wheeler delivering the generous spirit to stadiums and tailgates across the country. Follow the Royal Rig on its journey from city to city, bringing together local cuisine, NFL legends, and the opportunity to pack a purple bag for charity and win tickets to Super Bowl 59. Visit crownroyal.com for rules and more. Please drink responsibly.
Hey, KC, when I discovered my new passion, I dove into social media, got on some shows, and soon almost Andy Reid was bored. But this winter, there's something new you might discover that's not as great. Issues with your garage door. Don't get stuck in the cold. Get your annual maintenance check for just $100 or a free replacement quote from my friends at Renner Garage Door. They carry top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster, trusted locally since 1956.
RENNER, RENNER. Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it. Did you know that 1 in 4 people seeking treatment for ED are under 40? So you're not alone. And even better, Hims can help. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at hims.com/joy. It all starts with an online intake form. From there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. Through hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check your sunroof is closed first, before driving through the car wash.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, no. Wait, whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Chiefs coverage is brought to you by the Missouri Air National Guard. Serve your community your way. Serve your country and build a brighter future with the Missouri Air National Guard. Top-notch training, tuition assistance, and bonuses up to $50,000. Missouri Air National Guard St. Joseph. Aim high. Find your path today. Go to ang.com/MO.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's trending here on Cody and Gold is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. College basketball last night, we talked about the Missouri Tigers, a win over number 5 Florida, their biggest win since joining the SEC. They are in line to make the NCAA tournament. Should be ranked next week, as a matter of fact. Also, K-State lost to Texas Tech yesterday. Tonight, Kansas, Hilton Coliseum, a top 10 matchup. They are 6.5-point underdogs against the Cyclones.
Next up in what's trending, Quinn Ewers is officially heading to the NFL draft after that was reported by Pete Thamel earlier today. Currently projected to be around a mid-round pick. I think that could go higher based on the lack of NFL talent in this year's NFL draft. Still, I kind of thought he'd go back to college, the same as Carson Beck and some of these others. Arch Manning will be the starter in Texas. Quinn Ewers heading to the NFL.
Quickly, a few notes in the NFL today. Cowboys did request an official interview with Robert Saleh. This is the first known interview at this point in time. I know they've talked to Dion, but that wasn't an official interview. Also, the league announced next year's season will open up in Berlin. The Colts will host that one. We don't know who they'll face, but it'll be the Colts in Berlin, just like they did this past year in Sao Paulo, Brazil, but it'll be Colts in Berlin.
I also saw that Mike McCarthy is getting an official in-person interview with the Chicago Bears, only the second in-person interview they've done so far. Flying his ass out private, it said.
Well, I mean, I didn't think he was flying Southwest.
That'd be hilarious. You're sitting next to Mike McCarthy on the Deltas. He's
got ties to the Kansas City area, so maybe back in the day you might have. His daughter went to KU, I think, right?
Maybe.
Anyway, that's what's trending here on Cody and Gold. Earlier today, we were joined by our Odyssey NFL insider, Ross Tucker. Of course, he's the host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, the daily NFL podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. We started the convo about what you just mentioned, Quinn Ewers, because why not just, stay in school, hit the transfer portal, and earn your money that way?
1,000%. Yes. I mean, to me, if you're not a first-round pick as a quarterback, projected first-round pick, or you think had a great chance to go in the first round, you should absolutely go in the transfer portal. Those guys are now getting, I know there's a lot of numbers out there, but realistically, those guys are getting between $1.5 to like $3.5 million a year. I think some of the numbers aren't real accurate, and Quinn Ewers would be about as sought after as anybody. Now, the only thing I don't know is how many programs still need a guy. You know what I mean? Like, I know like Penn State's backup, he hit the portal. He's from right around here, and he would play like 5 to 10 snaps for Penn State. They would bring him in for special situations. He hit the portal right when the playoff run happened because he wanted to get his spot somewhere else before it was too late. And he signed with Missouri, and he's evidently getting $1.5 million from Missouri. So he's down there with you guys, and I presume he'll be their starting quarterback. His name is Bo Prabula. He reminds me a lot. I don't know if you guys remember this guy from college. He kind of bounced around the NFL, Trace McSorley.
Yeah, I remember Trace. Another Penn State guy.
Undersized guy, but a winner and fast, and that's kind of what Prabula is like. If there's any Mizzou fans listening, I think he'll do well there. But the only thing I would say about Ewers is maybe he, it took him a few days to do this, so maybe they looked and saw what was out there, and maybe nobody had a need where they would give him like what Carson Beck is getting, $3 million or whatever, to go to Miami. Maybe Ewers couldn't find that, but unless you're a first-round pick, I would highly recommend at the quarterback position in particular hitting the transfer portal. First of all, the reason to go to the NFL from college used to be because you couldn't get paid in college. If you can stay in college and get paid, like, I'll go back right now.
Do you still have some eligibility?
You're in college and you're getting over $1 million. Can you imagine how fun college would be if you were getting $1.5 million to play football? Like, I'd wake up in a ditch somewhere. Like, that would be unbelievable.
Just passed out in some drained pool.
Yeah, do you guys want to come over into my hot tub? I bought an off-campus mansion. You want to come over to my house? No, it's not my parents. It's mine. I bought it. It's my own money. It's like incredible. So, yeah, I think Ewers is probably – here's the problem. You guys know this. you're either a first-round pick or you're like third or fourth, because you're not going to take him in the second round unless you think they're a starter. And if you think they're a starter, someone's going to take him in the first round. You're not going to take a guy in the second round to be a backup. You're just like, those guys end up falling every year. Whoever, like, name the guy, Spencer Rattler, whoever, like, any guy that fits that category, you look, next thing you notice, they're not getting drafted till like the fourth or fifth round.
Let's take a look at some of the games this weekend. We can get to the Chiefs and Texans here in a minute, but obviously the single biggest game of the weekend is Ravens-Bills and a possible future opponent between the two. It seems like the national narrative, Ross, is the Ravens are a bad matchup for the Bills are a bad matchup for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs' best matchup of those two is probably the Ravens. Is that kind of how you see it? Because obviously I think those two teams are pretty even between the Ravens and Bills.
I think the Ravens are better. I think the Bills have the advantage of playing at home. I mean, you look at it, and it's like the Ravens have 6 All-Pros. The Bills have 1, Josh Allen. Like, that's crazy. And the Bills have some good players, but they don't have the talent level that the Ravens do. I also think the Ravens, with their ability to run it with Henry, they really have a formula that could beat anybody. It's funny. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but I have a betting podcast that I do on Tuesdays. It's called the Even Money Betting Podcast. And on it, my co-host, who's, a big numbers guy, he's a professional bettor, he says that the Ravens are by far the best team. And the logic behind that, they average, guys, more than half a yard more per play than any other team in the NFL. That's super impressive. The thought process is that the Bills being like plus 24 or whatever they are, turnover margin, that's great, but there's a lot of variance there, and that doesn't, you could have a game like Packers-Eagles where the Eagles win the turnover battle 4-0, or, Herbert throws 4 picks when he's only thrown 3 all year, meaning that it's not really a predictive stat. I think the exact quote he gave was, the Ravens won 12 games and should have won 15. The Chiefs won 15 and should have won 12 because of how many of the one-score games the Chiefs won. And we've talked about that a lot, but that's just not realistic to win 100% of those. So I thought that was fascinating. And so I'm really interested to hear what the betting line would be if it's Baltimore in Kansas City next week, because a lot of those betting lines are based on yards per play and certain statistical measures like that are not considered, prone to variance, right? It's not like, well, it could go either way. No. They've run thousands of plays this year, and they average more than half a yard more than any other team. That's the best team, which I thought was fascinating.
I definitely think, Ross, there's a good chunk of Chiefs fans that would look and say, okay, in a way, I almost want Baltimore to look great against Buffalo, and then everybody says, oh my gosh, this Baltimore team is unstoppable, and then the Chiefs get to actually play an underdog role again in the AFC title game. I think people here would welcome that.
Well, and I have a tough time picturing the Chiefs losing, because I just think whoever wins that Bills game against the Ravens, that's going to take so much out of them, right? I mean, so first of all, the Chiefs are going to have an extra day to kind of rest and prepare. And then secondly, that is going to be a war. That's going to be like as good of this is maybe as anticipated of a divisional round matchup as you'll see, with the top 2 vote getters for MVP. And what's interesting is I go on in Buffalo on Tuesdays. I'm actually going on in Baltimore later today. It's like a crushing, devastating season for whoever loses this game. But ironically, whoever wins the game, they're going to feel great about it for like 48 hours. And then it's, well, we still got to get over the Chiefs hump. And I think that's asking a lot. To win this game Sunday night and then go to Kansas City and win in Kansas City, that would be super impressive by whoever does it. And frankly, I think the Ravens would have the better chance. It's interesting to hear what you guys say because the Bills always beat the Chiefs in the regular season for whatever reason, and it feels like the Chiefs have the Ravens number. Whereas I look at it and think, man, I could see a scenario where the Ravens were able to finally get the Chiefs with Derrick Henry and with that rushing attack.
When we look at the rest of, like, see, this is what it is like when we get to this Texans part, and for GoldenEye, for the Ravens, it's like they've stopped Derrick Henry in the postseason, for one, and we've always said, and I think, Ross, we talked about it with you after the Buffalo loss the week after. We both feel like the one big thing that I think is undervalued in this is Sean McDermott has learned that he has to do everything to win. Like, if it's 4th and 2 from your own 35, you might just have to go for it. Like, he's finally learned that you can't give Mahomes a second chance. Yep. I think I'd like to think that Harbaugh knows that too, or should know that. Yeah. You have, and honestly, if you're the Ravens and it's 4th and short, especially, how are you not going for it? Yeah. With Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and that rushing attack. I do think on some level you're right, though. The Ravens are a really bad matchup for the Bills because the Bills, they want to play a nickel. They think they have the best nickel back in the league in Taron Johnson, number 7. They want, and I know he got banged up last week, but they want him to be out there as much as possible. Well, the Ravens aren't going to let you do that. The Ravens have, like, at least 2 big bodies, meaning 2 tight ends or a tight end and that fullback, Patrick Ricard, at least 2 of them out there on every play. And sometimes they'll go 3 or 4. And especially without Zay Flowers, I would think that they would just try to run the ball right down the Bills' throat, and they might be able to.
We're talking to our Odyssey NFL insider, Ross Tucker, here on 96.5 The Fan. All right, Chiefs-Texans, I know we're talking AFC title game and potential matchups. Should the Texans be getting a little more attention, I would say? We know they played the Chiefs back in Week 16. It was an 8-point win for Kansas City. Some elements of those teams are the same. There's a few changes. Some guys are healthier than they were back then. The Chiefs are as healthy as I think you can be as a playoff team, frankly. Is this Texans team, in your opinion, capable of hanging better than they did in Week 16?
I think so, yes, because I think they have a little bit more confidence now based on how that game went last week, right? You know, you win by 20 points, you win a playoff game, especially one where you were the underdog and people were counting you out. Now those guys have that belief. You know, it's no secret. C.J. Stroud will have to have one of the best games of his career, and the Texans will have to find a way to be able to run it a little bit. Their best chance for success is probably defense, right? I mean, you know, somehow get a pick six or a strip sack of Mahomes. The Texans are elite at edge rusher and at corner. Absolutely elite. And by the way, that's not great for the Chiefs with their offensive tackles. So the Texans need Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson to totally, thoroughly dominate that game off the edge, make Mahomes' life miserable, get a strip sack, maybe Stingley or Laster gets a pick six. Because I just don't see the Texans scoring that many points against the Chiefs' defense now that the Chiefs are returning to almost full health.
Are you surprised that Andy Reid is still kicking around DJ Humphries or Joe Thuney at left tackle?
Well, that is if you think that he really is still kicking that around.
Yeah. I think they still want DJ Humphries. I think they're still looking for a reason. You think they're just going to start Thuney?
I think it'll be Thuney at left tackle, Caliendo at left guard, because they clearly were performing better those last couple games offensively with those guys there. Now, the thing that's weird about that is it's not like a perfect, controlled scientific experiment because they also had got Hollywood Brown back. But if you look, it's funny because I just finished recording my fantasy show, the Fantasy Feast podcast. Those 2 games since Hollywood Brown came back, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, has the quickest time from snap to throw in the NFL. So it's funny because we all think of Mahomes as extending plays and Mahomes running around and making them reckless. Nobody is getting the ball out of their hands since Hollywood Brown came back from injury than Mahomes. So how much of that is because of Hollywood Brown? How much of it's just because they know Tooney's not really a left tackle that's going to be able to hold up in pass pro, 40 times a game for extended time. So it's very, very interesting to see sort of that situation. I would think that they would start with the way they've been going, and then if it's not going well, maybe then put in Humphreys. But I'd be surprised if they just put Humphreys out there. But it's been 23 days, so maybe.
All right, last one for before I let you go. Coaching carousel, we know one vacancy has been filled. Another one opened up this week with Dallas. Real quick, what do you think ultimately happens with the Raiders job and the Cowboys job? Those are the two I think most interesting in terms of the wide reach maybe of who they could hire.
Yeah, I think the Raiders is going to be Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. I think Brady's going to get him. I think that's basically all there is to it. Brady's kind of doing a full court press, and I think as a result, he's going to be able to get Ben Johnson to be the guy in Las Vegas, which is just gigantic. Not good for you guys, because I really do feel like Ben Johnson is special. I think he's as good of a coordinator as we've seen in recent years, and I just think that I think Ben Johnson, like, the time is now, and I think it's either going to be Chicago or the Raiders, and I think they're going to get him with the Raiders because they're going to be able to pitch him on, hey, we'll also help you. You can have some say in who we bring in as the GM, which is not the case in Chicago, where Ryan Poles is the GM. And also, I don't know, maybe he loves Caleb Williams, maybe he doesn't, whereas with the Raiders, he could have some input on the quarterback that they bring in.
Ross Tucker, our Odyssey NFL insider. Appreciate it as always, man. Enjoy the weekend.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Make sure to check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Daily NFL Podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. As long as the Chiefs keep on winning, we'll keep having Ross Tucker on the show. We'll keep that rolling throughout the postseason.
Working so far.
Yeah, man.
You might remember Ross was the first person ever to say that they couldn't repeat. Couldn't is the way he said.
About 3+ years ago.
For the Bucs one. And then we argued, like, you can't say they couldn't. They were in the game.
Now they've gone back-to-back, and they're going for a three-peat. It is.
Honestly, he's been way less on that end. He's been like, no, they can win 3 in a row.
Yeah. Well, I think if they get to a point where they're in the Super Bowl, we'll definitely have to ask him, Can they three-peat?
Can they three-peat?
Can they actually do it? All right, we're back at it tomorrow. We'll start checking in a little bit on outside Houston and some guests over the rest couple of days, and we'll also go to Buffalo later on in the week. But tomorrow, Dane Hughes is going to join us, Sarah Walsh from NFL Network, as we talk a little bit more about the AFC in particular. The Drive with C-Dot and Rob coming up next.